Good. How you doing?
Good, good. Got Steve, so we've got 5. We're missing Merritt. Yes?
All right. Does everybody, can everybody see my screen?
We're missing Alan, Merritt, and one other. Do we have
Mark.
Yes, yeah, we have a quorum.
Alan?
Yeah, we could see your screen.
Okay, good. Those are the minutes from October.
Okay.
I see the agenda, not the minutes.
Oh, wait, yeah, no, not the minutes.
No, there's
Yeah,
the
no,
minutes. I see minutes.
The minutes are right there.
Okay.
no,
Yeah,
but it's the agenda.
I see I'm getting the minutes. That's, I don't know what you
Got it.
guys are.
Oh,
He's just following the agenda as far as what went on, but
This is what happened last meeting.
No,
last month.
that's,
I see the minutes.
there you go.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, someone make a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve.
All in favor? All in favor of?
I second, yeah, 5 aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brian, how about you?
All right. Yeah, I agree.
Guy? All right.
All right.
Minutes are approved.
There's the agenda for today.
Okay, the treasurer's report, Mark's not here. Did you get that uploaded?
Sherry, is that uploaded or do you want me to run it? I can run it real quick, Paul. We can go through the vice president's status reports while we're waiting.
All right.
Take me a second.
Well, we want to get it on, what we want to get it on
Sorry.
ultimately is the website where we
It's
can.
loaded. It's loaded on the website.
Okay, good. Oh, excellent, excellent.
It's
Thank
already there.
All right.
Thank you.
I didn't see it today, Sherry. Was it just uploaded, or am I missing something?
Yeah.
Am I in the wrong place?
Yeah, I just did it about an hour ago.
Okay, so is it October cutoff?
Yes,
Okay,
through October 31st, from the first of the season, July 1st.
All right, where did you run it? Where did you put it up at, Sherry?
It's under About USA and then
Yeah, it should be
Financial.
on our financials, USA Business. Mhm.
And then just scroll over to the right and it should be under Financials.
Under what?
USA Business.
USA Business.
Oh, USA Business, got it.
Yep.
Hold on. Here we go again with the,
Yeah, I it was jumping around on me a bit. I finally kind of was able to get it, but that was doing the same thing to me
I'm,
earlier. I finally did get it. Move over and then down.
I gotta call these guys tomorrow. This is driving me crazy.
I didn't have that problem.
I was able to get in, but I had the same problem. It kept jumping back up on me.
Click.
Here we go.
Mhm.
First item.
Got it. Oh,
First item.
yeah, I did. I clicked on it. It got downloaded, right, Sherry? Yeah, it's down here. Never mind. Hold on. It's
Yes.
down here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you got it open up down there.
Cool.
There we go. Just so you know, what did I do with it?
Greg, is that when it says revenue, does that include what was left over from last year, or is that just this year's revenue?
That's left over from last year too, which
Okay.
I did mark down. I just have to find out what I did with it. I
It's all
know,
right. I
I
mean,
know there was about $20,000 carryover.
yeah, I know.
Just so you know, in the savings, we've got 101,182.80. In the checking where we pay everything out of, we've got 11,744.78. And in the operating fund, which is where everything goes before I pay it, all your registration fees and whatnot, 120,540 and 74 cents.
You know, I would also say that the one thing when, not that anybody's stealing from us or anything else, the one club that, it was a baseball program years and years ago, but the one thing that someone pointed out to me, and all these years I've been treasurer of all these organizations, is those bank statements are good to, maybe good to upload, Sherry, or Greg, whoever can do that. I know that's somewhat redundant, but it does tell you that the money is there. Not that I'm accusing anybody of taking anything, but it's like it's the proof that your income is, or you have what you think you have from
Sure.
the bank statement. If we go see a bank statement, I don't know if anybody else cares about that, or is it too difficult to do, Greg?
No, I can,
It wouldn't be
I'm not telling you to do it now. I would just say in the future, the bank statement also would go with
All
that. To verify.
I've got a header that pulls up on the bank statement.
Well, let's go back to that though. Let's see. I want to see the expenses a little bit. I'm not the revenues we know. So the revenues were over though, Cher, huh?
Well, again, I think it's, the date range on this, right?
July 1st, but if you're even taking 20 out of there, it's still giving you about 135. We're budgeting about 115.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
All right.
You
But
look-
let's pull that, Greg, let's pull that out so we do actually have an idea of this year's revenue. I know we have a pretty good idea. Not now. I mean,
All
just
right.
before the next meeting, just so it's easy for me we
Yeah.
can see how we're doing. Let's move down there. How are the expense? I mean, are you looking at anything here? Is there anything out of, your scroll down just a bit in the referee thing. Scroll down a little bit more so I can see is that the, all right. So the actual on a referee seems a little light. Am I correct in assuming that? Or is that normal?
Well, that, keep in mind that referee, I think, is also going to include assigners.
That's all it is, but we've have 24,000, 25,000 budgeted. We're right now, we've only expended up until October 31st, 2,700. Is that normal? When you think of senior season, we'd have more to the assigners, or am I?
Not with the age group and age change in that. I think there was less teams. Were we not correct, Sherry? There were less teams this year?
Oh, it's pretty close to the same, honestly.
About the same?
Yeah, about the same.
I have a question. Lindsay Mallard from EYSA sends.
Well, not right now. Not right now. Okay. This is just
No,
a
it has
board
nothing
meeting.
to do.
We'll
It has
get to
to
it.
have. Really?
Yes, really.
Okay.
So let's take a look at this thing. So we're going down. You're talking about, yeah, it seems like that's interesting. Joan Judd, you have some because some of it lapsed into this fiscal year.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't cash their checks until they went to school, I guess.
All right. How about where are the clerical expenses and business expenses?
Correct.
Yeah.
Is that all that's in there, Sharon?
I actually just noticed there was a few things in there again that I think need to get reallocated, but I couldn't
Okay.
identify them.
Okay.
So Greg and I are gonna have to figure out
Yeah,
where
that's
it
cool.
should go.
That's what I figured. I mean, it seems a little high.
Yeah. I suspect maybe some of those may be referee, but I just I didn't recognize the amounts because I don't make those payments, so.
Which category?
In business expense, I
Yeah, the
think there's
business expenses,
some
Greg, it seems,
referee expenses mixed up in there. Not a lot, but I did notice a few things in there that didn't make.
seems a bit high to me.
Yeah,
Well, you also got tax preparation was what was that? Couple grand,
Did you put that in there?
2-3 grand.
Okay.
I'm just going to business expenses. That's
Yeah,
part of.
I'm not challenging. I'm just,
Yeah.
when I look at things, I've been doing this so
Right.
long, I can see things that
Right.
my eye wonders what it's doing. So you're out 57,000. We've got November, December, January, 3 more hefty months. Obviously we've got the cash flows all right for the moment, right?
I think we're to be honest with you, we're at the same point in time we were last year.
But here's my question. The one thing for all of us is we have constantly been trying to get some solution to the referee issue. We're not really responsible for that, but we are taking a hand in that. And that's where some of this money, probably some of what we think is excess budget, may end up going. All right, Brian, you got to look at that. Does that make is that budget actual look normal to you or look fairly good? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I think once Sherry looks at the business expenses and, are you thinking, Sherry, that there's a decent portion of referee expenses mixed in with the business expenses?
I don't think it's a lot. I think it might be around $1,000. I just noticed a lot of like small expenses that definitely are not my salary or Greg's salary, but I couldn't identify, what they should be allocated to. But I'm guessing it's referee because it's really the only other thing right now that we're spending money on.
Yeah, we're spending about $1,500 to $2 grand a month on assigners fees.
Right. Well, right now we're in the heaviest time for that, right?
The junior season and senior overlap. Yes.
But there are some things we're looking to do where we may end up changing the budget or really adding that to the budget or somehow. So we need to. That's why I'm keeping a close eye on it because I know some of the questions we have are going to involve spending money to do it. All right. I'm happy with everybody else on the board. Happy with that?
I'm happy.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. It's on the website too. You can take a look at it on the website. All right. Next, let's Alan. Well, we don't have senior boys are done. Sherry, I did notice something about the senior season. I did have a question. I noticed more games. I noticed even that the Schimberg fields, there were some 19 games. Are more people scheduling into the beginning of the high school season now? Did you notice that?
Yeah, well, of course, when we put the schedules out, I think we had overlapped a little bit, and then some, probably about 50% moved those games, and I think the rest left them there.
So those games I'm seeing have been moved into that schedule. We didn't schedule that far in, did we?
Well, we did overlap some of the dates.
October, the end of October, and no November dates though. No.
I think on some of the age groups we had gone into that because some people complained about it.
But
there was just no other weekends available.
Yeah,
a lot of people wanted to not do Sundays, so you may have had to go further into it, and they were willing to do it. But we didn't do it as a set schedule. It was more of after the fact. We want to do it on this date and not play Sundays. That was the biggest thing. They didn't want to do Saturday, Sundays.
Correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Would that be their choice then, Steve?
Yeah, it was their choice.
Their choice.
We scheduled it still on a Sunday, but then they were like, well, can we take these games off a Sunday? And
yeah, it's a fundamental problem, and we really never get to the end of it. Is we got a limited time, and everyone wants to play 14 games.
Right, but in theory, the high school at least for boys, just started last week. So
the tryouts were the 15th or so.
Yeah, but the games didn't start until just last week, and then it was the week before for the girls. So, the whole month of October, you can really continue This is probably the
Yeah, but I
first
thought anything
weekend.
past October, these games I saw were in November, and it just
Oh.
caught my eye. That
Oh,
was
they may have picked one more. I mean, because they can still practice during the week because it's
But it's their
after.
choice. I mean, they can play in the
Yeah.
middle of high school season if they want.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
can't stop them. Okay.
But I'm just saying we can, as a league, I think next year we can bring it into, might be a little bit of a burden for some of the field spaces. What if the junior season is starting, but maybe we can bring the senior season out a little bit till at least the end of October.
Why, Kai, are you still out there?
Who? Me?
Guy.
Guy.
Guys out there
And
somewhere.
Mike, are you guys scheduling senior? I mean, are you still having
Yes.
senior teams out there?
Just out under 15.
So you do? Okay.
Yeah.
How is that sitting with them?
Well, that's more middle school
Kai,
now, right?
Yeah, but middle school is not. We don't have many. We don't have many.
You don't
players
have middle school
15
teams.
playing.
Yeah.
Varsity soccer. So
Right.
so
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Junior boys, Mike, anything other than the normal?
No, I mean everything's out. Obviously we're going through all the hiccups of the U12 deal, but other than that, everything seems to be going well.
Yeah. Well, the 12s, and we'll go into that a little bit. I mean, as quickly as we can. But under old business, I'm going to bring you back and go through that conversation with Jen and Dave as far as that one. All right. But anything else? I did notice one thing. Somebody had asked me or sent me an email about Lee County playing Division II under 14 boys, and thought C5 was barred from that, and they are. I don't know how that happened. It's too late now, but that's not our in our rules right now, or wasn't specifically lifted. Our rule is no C5. We've always entertained the Premier Division by acclamation. We do that. But we say the second and third division is C5 because we don't house games there.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're playing and not housing games. I don't know that. But someone complained. I'll take a look into that this week. I'll ask Greg or Sherry to take a look. That's a minor thing. That's all. Steve, how about the girls? Everything
I mean, everything's fine. Knock on wood. I don't want to say everything's great, but just small little things. Nothing really. Just maybe a misposting there or something. But yeah, Sherry, we haven't really had anything major that I can.
No.
Yeah. No.
Well, not that's come my way anyway. No.
Well, no, and it hasn't come my way.
It come your way if it was.
Well, usually it goes her way and then comes my way, and sometimes it comes
well,
my way and I send it back her way. And we're good. No, just clarification things. That's it. Nothing.
All right.
Yeah,
That's good. My report. We'll go into. I have nothing to add other than what we said. Let's just keep this moving, and we will get to these. We will get to all of the ideas or the reports I have. Obviously, we have had a normal, or it seems maybe it's below normal. I don't know.
I think it's below normal a little
red
bit.
cards. We had a dust up one of the clubs, I guess, and that was a 19 game, and that we'll go into that executive board. But other than that, it's the normal give and take of the season, and nothing really established for sure. Old business. Anything to rehash on that? All right. New business. Referee situation referring to numbers and quality. This, I think, Mike, that was a report from Neil, or are we taking that up in executive session?
Well, I think it's an executive section thing.
All right. So what is this, Greg? What is this referring to?
I needed a placeholder. This is in regards to Kai's issue with the 13-year-old team where the referee wanted full pay.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we settled that today, right, Kai? Did we lose Kai?
Well, I know Merritt had settled it a couple of weeks ago. And
He made a statement. I don't know if did you put that on the website?
Right. He said they're not entitled to it. So
No, I mean, no doubt about it.
yeah, but we need to draft something to FSR and to Dave Peterson to not have this guy around anymore.
Yeah, well, my question is, that's between Dave and the assigner. The assigner apparently, I mean, the referee apparently saw the light today when Dave talked to him or called him. He was told to call Dave. He said, fine, I'll just take what I can. We settled that issue, and nobody gets paid anything other than what they were contracted to paid. I don't know if there's a Kai, did you squared away the ref, right?
Yes, he stayed and just took what he was paid as a center.
I don't know, Greg. I don't know. We need to eliminate anybody, but Dave knows what he's doing there. We should just let him manage that and explain to the guy what the issue is, that you don't get paid extra for lines that you're not because the lines get paid.
That's it.
Well, the only issue I have with it is that he threatened to walk and not call the game if he wasn't paid the full amount.
If that were me and I were Dave, that's not a guy I would pick straight away to send to the matches, But that's he may be a very good ref, and he may be he may be a good guy, and maybe today he was having a bad day. I don't know.
Bless you.
But that doesn't
Can
work.
I talk about refs now?
Did Sherry did they get to you on this, Sherry? Was Sherry involved?
With what? I'm sorry.
There was a guy today this morning. I guess he showed up. There was no AR, so he said, "I want all the money," and he said, "If I don't get it, I'm leaving."
I wasn't involved.
No way. Where was this?
All right.
All right.
I was in St. Pete at my club this morning. The guy, we only had one center, and we didn't have linesmen, so the parents stepped in to do the line. But before the game was kicked off, he wanted the entire $80, and he told our team manager if he wasn't paid the full fee for the whole crew, he would walk on the game.
Yeah, but he had the parents. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you should be kicked out of the game.
He should have. Can we do that?
All right.
Yeah.
No,
I have a question. I have a question because I don't.
we can advise Dave. He
very
wouldn't
often.
not to use a guy anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the question?
We're not FSR. I think FSR. I don't know what the story is, Mike, but FSR has got to take. That's
Of course they must. Yeah.
All right. Can Lindsay Mallard, Englewood Youth Soccer, about refs, since we're talking about them, can I ask?
Yeah, but we're
question?
not. Look, we're not taking anything from the floor yet, okay? Because it'll just bog us down. But Lindsay, we don't take anything from the floor in the meeting until we get to the end of this, and we'll answer any. Try to answer questions.
Okay. Will you let me know when I can ask then?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
all of the things that we're talking about right now is a board meeting. It's not open to the general public. Okay. This isn't. We'd never get through a meeting if it did. It's just the way this operates.
All right. So we're kicking that ref out. What's next?
Well, certainly somebody's got to say something to Dave.
Well, somebody's got to. Yeah, I mean,
I
David.
think Kai, did you do that already?
I talked to Dave today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he knows.
What did he say, Ty?
What did he say?
He said obviously if he would walk, because at that time I didn't know yet if he was going to walk or not. He said if he would walk out on the game, he'd never ref again. He'd write him up to FSR, and and that he would. So he ended up at the end. He ended up staying and calling the game.
Did he call a good game?
That I don't know. I haven't touched base.
What point of view you're using?
But I know that Dave talked to me. He was thinking about writing them up or something like that. So
I think some kind of write-up needs to be
Yeah,
said.
no,
Yeah, well, someone follow up with Dave and see what it was, either Sherry or Greg, if you would, and just get a better feel for.
Yeah,
what's
and
going on.
I think we're going to do it from the league's point of view because it is our product that he was challenging.
Correct, but I think the way to do it, Mike, is to eliminate him with the signer. It's not FSR.
Yeah, no, it's exactly, yeah.
Well, that's the only way we can do it.
FSR
Yeah.
and say kick the guy off.
Correct.
Say to Dave, unless you're desperate, unless you are out of refs and you don't have anybody, I wouldn't advise using this guy with that kind of
Well, he's
bad.
Plan Z. He's Plan Z.
But can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of emails about this similar last week. do we want to send a directive from USA to all the referees?
Well, I think, do you want to send it to the refs, or do you want to just post it on a website? Because the refs, we don't have all the refs email.
Well, we send it to the assigners, so the assigners,
Not our
We can
refs.
send it to the assigners.
and then let the
And they
assigners send it out to all the
Yes,
referees.
Yes. That's how to do it. Well, you just work through the assigners, and you might post it on the website also.
And then post it.
By the referee, in the referee section, just so they understand, so it's clear to them that what we accept is a business practice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll put something together for that.
Thank you.
All right. Approve addendum to the bylaws to include U.S. soccer player initiatives. Did everybody get to read these, the full, all these changes? Does everyone on the board understand? These changes are only because before our AGM, where all the bylaws would be easily changed, we didn't have any of this information, obviously, at our AGM. This all came after our AGM, but they are all directives from U.S. Soccer as far as the playing rules. So they're different, they're changed. In order for us to amend the bylaws, we've got to post these before the next meeting, and then we can put them into the bylaws, but we've got to go through a process to do that. And
Yeah,
these
so-
are just really, but I would hope everybody would read them. I did. They look good. I mean, as far as I can see,
Was it anything different than what we experienced at the meeting? Because I unfortunately, I did not get a chance to look at them all, but
no, but you don't need. I mean, now when we post them, Steve, is the time to read them, because
okay.
technically we have to post them to.
Well, we have to make sure we interpreted them. They came
Yes,
directly.
no.
yeah.
If you see something on there in that time, we need
Yeah.
to change it before we
Okay.
vote on them.
Was there anything you didn't notice anything different?
I
though?
didn't, but you know
Okay.
what? Every time I do it, guys like you and Merritt seem to be more adept at finding little things, and
Right.
for a reason.
Okay, I'll take a
that's
look at
smart,
them.
actually,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll take a look at them.
Before,
Yeah, I think Merritt too, the same way.
before that final draft went out, Merritt and Neil chimed in with at least 5 other issues. So what I did was I detailed those issues a little bit better.
Yeah, I saw that you had made some
But
revisions.
this, Greg, is what I have here, the 204 player and team administration, team roster, blah, 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 blah. That's not got anything to do with refs. That is just what the ramifications of having the more kids, the roster sizes, as far as I can do, this is all as a result of U.S. Soccer's changes in everything
Right.
to get that into our bylaws so we're congruent with U.S. Soccer.
Right. Well, then like you said, they're the other one that they came out with is that Rec Giza Tarsa players cannot play competitive.
Well, that's not part of this. In other words, if we want to start going into changes, I think we wait
Wait,
till
what was that?
AGM, our AGM, and
What was that again? Tarsa players cannot play competitive?
They can't come pass as a competitive player, correct?
No,
Correct?
but they can guest play.
No, there's no guest play in USA.
well, like a club pass.
Piece of players can guest play in the
Or
USA.
club pass play? Yeah,
Club
okay.
pass.
No.
Can you
No,
repeat that? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
they can.
But that's not.
Hi. According to Rosemary, no rec players.
Well, let's find that
Wait a
out.
minute,
I did.
Sure, it's not the other way around.
No, I did. I talked to Rosemary about that this week.
But wait a minute, Giza has something in their bylaws where they're limited to 4 games a year. A rec player in Giza can guest play 4 games in a competitive season.
That's good for Giza, but they didn't work that out with FYSA when they came down and they don't want rec players playing competitive.
Interesting.
That's Giza that's got to change theirs.
Let me just read you something in our bylaws, just so a club pass player may only club pass play from one team in a club in which a player is either a recreational
Yeah.
team player to another team in a club as set forth in specific criteria adopted by the board of directors. So in our bylaw,
Well, in our bylaws, we can do it, and it's not
it
an
is okay
FYSA
to do.
mandate.
Now, if that is
Outdated.
FYSA does not, if that is in somehow opposed to FYSA. When we get to the AGM, because we don't have a problem with that right now. We've got nobody reporting any.
But is that an FYSA bylaw?
Well, we don't know if it's an FYSA bylaw. You know, those guys make it up as they go along. So before our AGM in the spring, they'll either have to adopt the same wording and same set of rules or not, because our bylaws right now allow it. If FYSA doesn't, obviously we have to change our
Well,
bylaw.
then we have to change the bylaw, but
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
remember ever reading that. But
Yeah,
I'm
but
surprised Rosemary said that.
we'll have to see that. I'll tell you, man, they haven't updated. I mean, we're going back in FYSA. I see some of the stuff wasn't updated a month ago or a month and a half ago. So hold that, Greg. The things that we want to put in there, though, are well established. It's not anything like this. The things that you wrote up are really to do with the changes in the play coming down from USYSA. Am I correct in assuming that?
That's the ones that we can enact.
Yes, so that's what we're gonna post. We're gonna go through a formal process that we have to go through. But we should put them in fairly quickly. That's the only point I'm making to the board is
Right.
that because we're already doing it. We're already playing under those rules. So we really need to put them in, to get them backed into the bylaws.
Well, the other one too is that, you know, I was told also that we cannot write in players. They have to be on they have to be on a GOT soccer game card. And our bylaws say that we can write in players on the 9s and 10s.
Yes, it does.
I thought we changed that.
No, I don't think we ever did.
That's the point I'm trying to make, though. There's a couple of those that, you know, changed with GOT soccer and FYSA this year that, you know, we need to put in there.
Well, let's run that one down right now. But we know the ones here, and this is the roster size. You know, all the things that you gave me in this 3-page thing: field of play, offsides, build outline, number of players, no heading rules. All of that is what we want to adopt straight away. If there's a problem, we're already playing the 9s and 10s, so let's investigate that, because I think we have stopped. We had an open academy. Does everyone remember that?
Yep.
We had an open academy where you could have 25 kids, and then you get to the game and write the ones, cross out the ones that aren't there. Well, FYSA now doesn't work for them. It doesn't fit with their format for the roster.
Right.
You just can't do that anymore because we need to.
Can we just continue?
Address that formally, Greg and Sherry. Probably write something up as far as those two things together. But let's make sure, you know, that we're accurate as far as that goes, because that's another playing rule that really was imposed on us that we didn't have ourselves. That isn't something we voted for or came up with. That is something FYSA told us. That's what the way things are going to run in 9s and 10s.
Right. Well, we can continue to revisit
No,
anything we've
we're
missed
fine, but
throughout
we
the
just
next
want
couple
to
months.
revisit that too, Greg, as well as these. But these things are very specific to how we're playing already. And there is a methodology clearly in our bylaws that we can, we the board can institute that, but we have to have, we must follow the format to do it. And that is, we need to post them, and then we need to post them like 10 days before the meeting we vote on them. So
All right.
the faster we're going to post it, we can get everybody to try and, look at them and see if it works for them, or it's accurate to their thinking.
I think, well, we updated the website about 2 weeks ago, so would that qualify?
Yeah, well, Greg, the thing you sent out to me, is that now part of our bylaws?
No, the 9 and 10 addendum probably is. That's what Sherry put out there for the 9 and 10 rules.
Just as a standalone document, it hasn't been incorporated into the posted bylaws.
For instance, is there a no heading? I didn't notice a no heading clause in our bylaws.
There is no heading in our bylaws. No.
But that needs to go in there, correct?
Yes, and that's part of that white paper there.
The change in the field dimensions, the goals, the build out line, offsides. Was that added to our bylaws?
No, we're waiting for approval.
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, that's what I'm talking about. Share, this was a three-pager that, a three-pager that Greg sent out just to review, and that's what I'm talking about sticking in there. If you would look at that, Sharon, then decide what, how that gets shuffled into our bylaws. But we've got to put them in there because that's what we're playing. They're the rules we're playing on. Everyone is playing under those rules.
Right.
But we
But
might
you
as well
were
back it
saying-
into.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were
No,
saying
it's
it needed to be posted 10 days before we could update the bylaws?
Yes. These, before we can change the bylaws as a board, there is for emergencies or for contingencies like this, which, is exigent circumstances.
Right,
There
but
is
I believe
There's
that's
a method in our bylaws to do that, and you have to put them on the web and advertise them 10 days ahead of the
right.
meeting. You change them. So the next meeting we have, we will vote to put those bylaws in, and we'll include them in there.
So the fact that we've had them posted for about 2 weeks, that document, it doesn't qualify?
No.
Can't
That's
vote
right.
on
We
it.
can't change it tonight,
No.
Okay,
but we can change it next month. I mean, we're not in any, this is not the house isn't burning down on this, but we should get that done. It's good. That's just a necessary change. All right, so we're all together on the approved addendum. So we're gonna share. We're gonna post that on the website as a addendum. Make sure where that fits in our bylaws, if you will.
I'm sorry. There was a lot of interference. What was the last thing you
We'll
said?
just make sure it fits in our bylaws as far as the numbers and where it fits in there, and then we'll stick it in and we'll replace what we have in there for
Right.
what we've got.
Actually, yeah, that's gonna cause, we'll have to renumber everything, but that's okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
That may be, but that's okay. I mean, we're all right there too. Long as we post them and do that, we can change them and get them in the bylaws. And they're just playing rules. I mean, we all are playing by the same rules right now.
The ones, and that's just for the 9s and 10s. The rest of it, as far as the write-ins and the rec players and all that, that's got to go to an affiliate vote, correct?
Well, yeah, the rec players, definitely, because our bylaws do not prohibit that.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That has to be left out of this wiped out.
And I think after tonight, I don't know that. We have bylaws to cover rostered players, non-rostered players, FYSA. So we'll get to that tonight.
Okay.
For the good of the game, the card accumulation penalty, again, I don't think, unless somebody else can tell me, I mean, you guys tell me, I don't think I'm going to change. I would be inclined to change just before in this season. This would be another thing, this yellow card accumulation, red card,
I don't think we can do
red
it.
card rules would be better served going in under our.
I don't think we can do it now because we'd have to backtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, no. The idea was to use it, enact it for next year's senior season.
Yeah, okay,
And
and that would be
Merit
fine.
has another way of looking at this. This is one way, and Merit's got another. You get 3 cards, you get a game. So we have to, before the AGM, that's something we need to craft carefully and decide as a board what we think is the best. And then the members our members got to vote on it. I mean, that's really what the
Right.
And then I have a question. Got
Yeah.
Soccer doesn't track it that way. Correct?
I know.
I know
No,
it's,
we would have to personally track it.
yeah. Good luck with that.
No, I know. That's part of, but that'll come up in that, Sherry, when this discussion comes. That to me is probably the key thing. There's a lot of things you want to do, but my God, man, being able to administratively actually
Track yellow cards. That's a,
The red cards are taking hours. I don't even know how you would do that. I mean,
I don't either. That's my point.
unless there was a system that
I
could do
mean,
it.
Mike was a proponent of it also, and it's a behavioral thing we're trying to change, really.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
look, I think
it's a
that,
good rule.
we have to have a deterrent to the consistent
misbehavior of players. I mean, they do it in the EPL system. I don't see why we couldn't find a way to do it at our level. So, you know, they even in the World Cup, they collect yellow cards over the tournament and they set out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So
I like the rule. We just have to find a way that's
Sherry's right.
tracking.
Not soccer doesn't do a lot of, I mean, some things real well. And that's,
well, let's go to Gottschalk and see whether they can do something, because
Well,
this
it's not only
will
that, Mike.
obviously be good for
we don't get every game's reports. We're still, I think we're at a 90-10. We still got 8% left, or 9% or 10% that we're still not consistently getting. We're running them down. We're pushing people to get them. And that's another issue we can solve simultaneously.
Yeah.
But if you can't effectively track it, or what's the word, in a balanced way, you know, fairly track it,
Right.
then you're going to have an argument that, you know, not that I got 3 yellow cards because you didn't get everybody. Is that enough to throw a system out? You know, in other words, hey, did everybody that got 3 yellow cards get the same?
Well, before you throw anything out, you have to make sure, like you said, that we know exactly what we want it to be, and we have a viable way of tracking it, unless we can't throw it out. So we have to do some investigation.
We're going to really have to work at that. And some of this stuff, we have gone, you know, as a board, we've identified a lot of good stuff. It's getting the work in between the stuff. I know that we're getting our clerical team to do a lot, but we're going to have to make some of these decisions, like this yellow card thing, and see if somebody can figure out how to track it or whatever, and get to it like in February and make a decision, you know.
Well, we could look at interns.
Say that again, Mike.
What is that,
We could
Mike?
look at interns doing that for us. We could go to USF or UT and find an intern to come and do that kind of stuff for us.
Yeah, you could.
What would they be
It's
doing?
more of the reporting piece, though. We have to make
it's
sure
the
it's
reporting
reported.
piece. You know what? This all comes down to the referee side of it, which
Yeah, it comes down to who actually will make sure that they give us their accurate reports.
Correct.
Yeah, and then we get the reports in a timely manner too.
Correct.
Greg and Sherry, you want to speak to that? I think, Greg, you had a percentage. Or what is the percentage right now of
About 10%.
reported games versus reported games?
It's about just a little under 10%.
And see,
Not being
that's,
Not too bad.
or being reported.
Well, that are being turned in. Yeah, we have 107. We had 107 outstanding as of last week.
That's all
and we've
right.
got 1,000, and we're in 1,000, 1,500
Yeah,
games.
1,100, 1,200 games.
Yeah. So we got. Is there a referee or referees that are the ones that are the problem out of those 114 or so?
Well, it would. I think you'd have to go through each one of them.
If they reported them, we'd know, Mike.
No, but I'm saying the ones that are not reported. Is there a referee? Is there a group of referees that are not doing it?
Yeah, we don't have that
Is
information.
it consistent? Is it
I
consistent? The
can
same
answer
person?
that, I think. I noticed that a lot of the unreported scores were the 9s and the 10s.
Okay.
I think that the refs must think because we don't keep standings, they don't have to send in the scores.
Yeah, but I talked.
Okay.
I talked to 150 referees in the past 3 weeks, and
Right,
made sure they knew that they have to turn those in.
right.
But if the 9s and 10s are the problem for me, it's not.
I'm not too worried about a yellow card
It's like you're
accumulation
doing a
with
lot of work
9s
with
and
the
10s.
9s and 10s in. I'm more worried about the seniors.
Well, maybe we implement it more with seniors.
I
moving
think
forward.
this is a 11v11 program.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Those-
that's a good idea.
or
Mike.
even 15 and above, or 13 and above. Yeah.
That's a good idea. See, we've already had some.
I can put the seed. I can put the seed in God Soccer's ear right now. When you go to take a look on the results and roster page, you will see how many players, and the players will have how many cards, and you'll see the standings and goal differential and all that kind of garbage that they've added in the last year.
Yeah, well, go ahead, put it in there. Put it in there.
It's just a matter of us asking them, here's the requirement here's what we require from USA to keep track of these. And when you get the third card, then that you put
It should be an automatic red card.
it automatically flips a switch and doesn't allow that name to be put on the game card for the next game.
Yeah.
That would be,
Well, that would resolve every
Yeah,
issue.
except if any mistake, because of mistakes would be.
Except for the only thing it does not cure is the reporting of the game, though. To make
Correct.
sure that, we get all the reports.
But that's it. I mean, that's a problem we already highly focused on right now as far as the older age groups.
The rest
When
of
we
it can
don't
be
have reports, we're following up. If we get that down inside of 3% or something, you're not going to get.
Well, as long as it's 3%, or as long as it's of the 13 and up.
We'll get that
seniors.
number though, Steve. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is to know what is the problem. If it's 50%, that's one thing. If it's 3%, you're gonna. It's the 80-20 rule, right? You're gonna push and push to get those other three. We do push now consistently to get all of those game.
We should be getting them all.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, as far as keeping track, God Soccer can keep track of it. That won't be an issue.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Mike, the last thing is, if for everybody, I know we don't have a lot of, we got some members on. Would you go through the issue that we ran into last week when Jen called, specifically telling our clubs the first thing, and we should do this on a website, maybe. What do you think? Do you know that FYSA, does everyone know that FYSA has a idea that they're going to try and equilibrate this President's Cup, Commission Cup, State Cup, so that teams that are, what's the word, Mike, too good?
Yeah, but I mean, essentially, they want to keep the Commissioner's Cup to D2 and D3
teams,
capable, quality kids, and then President's Cup is D1 with the, and then President's Cup.
State Cup.
Yeah. The problem that they have with the league, with USA at the moment, is that all the other leagues in the state, including CDL in our area, have U12 as Premier D1, D2, D3. So they know which teams are, at least in the league, D2, D3 teams, right? Now, we know that there are some teams in D2 that should be in D1, but they have the option being D2 that they can go to Commissioner's Cup. The way that our league is set up, because we don't have Premier and the different levels, is they do not know which teams are qualify for Commissioner's Cup. And at the moment, the rule that they are using is that in order to qualify for Commissioner's Cup, you must have lost 75% of your games in order to qualify for Commissioner's Cup.
Really?
Yeah. As you see, Steve, that's what.
Okay. So a D2 team that didn't lose 75% of their games can't go to Commissioner's Cup?
No, they can. If they are in a designated D2 league, they can. But if they're in a designated,
if they're Premier, they've got to have lost 3. They got to be in the.
Well, that's a shame. That's a shame if you're not, because it doesn't always mean you're.
Well,
I mean, look, the problem that we have is that because we don't have our leagues in U12 designated Premier D1, D2, D3, they did not know which teams qualify for Commissioner's Cup.
Yeah. Just to tell you, the solution to that is when Dave gets back from his honeymoon, we will identify in D2. I think Mike told him the reason when we only had 5 teams out of 40 want to be in the Premier U12, and we know why, because of the heading. Because
the heading thing,
amazingly inept, last minute rules that we got. Every coach didn't know who they had on the team, if they could head, if they couldn't. It was absolute chaos at under 12 because the rules were still evolving after our meetings, even before and after meetings, we're still explaining things to people. And so therefore, most people were reticent to say, I want to go into Premier, because they didn't know who would be playing at that point. They still weren't comfortable with the composition of their team, both
Yeah.
because of age group and because of 205s and 206s couldn't mix unless we had a non-heading league. So we first had a heading league, then we ended up with only 5 teams in that. So as we got along in the meeting, it became evident that we weren't going to have a premier division because we didn't have the 5 ended up 4 by the time we got around. But by the time one of the teams realized that some of the kids on their team couldn't play, they dropped out. They didn't want to be in premier either. That left us with a 4 teams basically that wanted to be in a premier.
Right.
We got them at the meeting to say, how do you feel about your team's strength? And we got it sussed out that we had guys, and I think we used the term good and not so good. And we got that separated. So we got our D2 and D3 kind of separated into what everyone was comfortable with. Whether they were correct or not, we don't know, unless they were comfortable with it. You can't force teams in that to play in the Premier Division because you can't do that. I mean, that's not going to work.
Right.
So that we ended up with really D2 and D3. Now, when we started to try to break them up into 8s, right, into some natural order of play, we had an enormous problem with geography, as always, right?
Oh, yeah.
East, south. I'm not in the south. I'm not in the east. I don't want to be in the east. I can't go play those teams. So in the end, what we decided to do was to basically share the travel and not call the teams D2 East, D2 South, D2 North. So we didn't have an argument. We knew we were going to travel. So we put colors on them just so we eliminated the issues.
Stipulation.
We knew we were going to travel some. We tried to be as judicious as possible about it, but you certainly couldn't find, there wasn't enough teams in the East, at least that were all together as far as the composition of the teams, the quality of the teams. Or the South, and those guys down there, of course, or out East, just don't want to play themselves. And I understand that. So that, because they're 12s, they still don't get it. They still say, well, I don't want to travel that much. So the idea was when we split these all up, that's how we ended up doing it. And it appears as if we got fairly even play. But I got to explain to FYSA that we really don't have a true as such.
Yeah.
We might have 3 or 4 teams that figure they are. And don't forget, normally it's promotion relegation, some background, right? We had that. We had nothing to go on other than the assertion from the coaches as to what they thought their teams were.
Right.
So, and the second thing is, 12s they'll never do this again. It's the last year for them.
Well, right.
So it's the last year they're going to include them in some of this. So this is a one-off deal, and I'll get that straightened out with them as to who in our division is D2 and D3, and basically the first 3 are D2s and the last 2 are D3s. And I'll outline that to Dave, so when they have to do some of it. But I think, Mike, more to the point is, you guys out there who are listening, who are with us, you've got to try to take a rational approach to putting your team in there in one of these 2 tournaments. Try not to sandbag and try to think about it in terms of what's fair for the kids. If you got a killer team, somebody's going to expose that, and you might get dumped out of the Commissioner's Cup and be pushed in the President's Cup.
That's the thing. I mean, you always have, unfortunately, it goes on with tournaments all the time.
Yes.
You always have these teams that just want to win, because they need to.
This Steve, is another FSA idea that really isn't well thought out.
No, but my philosophy on it always is that, it's not going to be a lot. So you will truly be exposed when you do it. You might get away with it the first year, but then, you are going to be looked upon poorly. So I wouldn't do it for that reason. I wouldn't want my team to.
No, and that's what I think Mike's point was, that we try to get to everybody. Maybe, I don't know if we should put something on the website, Sherry, I'm not sure, to think when you go to enter these things, please consider that the Commissioner's Cup is really for the secondary types D2 teams. And if really got premier
You would
team.
hope that a D1 team
Yes, but I
is
think
going
this
to
year,
want to
among
challenge for a
all,
D1
Steve, is
championship.
nobody knew in the beginning of the season what their team was going to be like. So now we're asking them, now that you got a better feel for it,
Reevaluate, yeah.
yeah, be sincere, because FYSA isn't going to be able to
No.
help us. You know.
Yeah. No, that's just something we have to continue to.
I think we covered that. I'll get to Dave when he gets back from honeymoon. I'll get to he and Jen and explain that to them, and that's how we're gonna do
approach
it.
it.
So we're ready to adjourn for the regular meeting. Let's. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Well, we did have a few questions, didn't we, from before? How do we approach that?
From the floor.
Well, yeah, all right. But I think they're staying around. But who is the gal from? Is it from Northport? Now you have a question?
It was Lindsay from Inglewood.
Yeah,
that had a
Lindsay.
question. I had a question about center ref. What do we do when they don't show up?
You don't play.
You can't play the game,
Can't play the
unfortunately.
game.
So do we try and find a center ref?
Well, you could talk to, if you can reach your assigner, then your assigner possibly can send someone else. So you should always.
There are restrictions. They have to be a certified referee.
Right. They have to be a certified referee.
I do understand that. I'm just saying, like, we're having an issue this year with refs.
Okay.
Showing up.
On a consistent basis?
On a consistent basis, yes. And between like a broad spectrum of games, like we are in Inglewood, Northport area, center refs, you guys assign them. It's not our assigning. They don't show up.
Okay. Who's
How
the
often
assigner
does that
down
happen,
there?
Lindsay?
Who's the assigner for down there? Sherry.
Yeah, but
I have no idea.
I'm sorry, what's the club? Englewood?
Inglewood.
Yeah.
That
How
would-
often is that? How many times does that happen?
That's a net.
Is that Hugo?
No,
3, 4.
3
3 or 4
matches this
games.
year?
3 or 4 games? Okay. And who's the assigner down there?
I think it's a net, Taylor, right? C3 used to be considered C3, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, then it's a net.
For
Or,
sure.
What do we do when it's our home game? I'm not going to forfeit. Our girls are all there.
Sherry, let me ask
No,
you.
that's not really your responsibility. That's our
You gotta find,
responsibility.
you gotta find a center.
It wouldn't be a forfeit. It would have to be a reschedule, but
Yeah, we
you
wouldn't
know,
forfeit that anyway.
yeah. But we
Okay,
should be making sure that our referees, if we're
Yeah,
assigning
more
them,
to
are
the
there.
point, Lindsay, we need to know
What
every
happens
time a
if
center
they're
does not show.
on the thing, but they never accepted it.
Doesn't matter. And if a ref isn't there, right, a center is not there, and that is the reason the game isn't played, then we'll forfeit the other team if they don't want to reschedule it. And we'll reschedule it. We'll force the reschedule, things like that.
All right, that's my question. So the other teams don't want to reschedule
Well,
the
yeah,
game, then
Sherry
That's not your responsibility.
Sherry can take care of that. That's not your responsibility. But Lindsay, we need to know every single time one of the centers that is assigned to your club does not show. We
Yes.
need to know that as fast as
Okay,
we.
so who do I contact? 'Cause I don't even know who to contact.
You could send them
Well,
Sherry or Greg.
Sherry and Greg, and that's who we. Did you go to the meetings when we had the meetings in August? Their phone numbers, their emails are all available.
President did, yes. He has
They're
them, so
there.
that's
They're
what we
there to
do.
respond to you.
I mean, you feel an obligation because we live in Inglewood. There's Tampa. The driving distance.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
we do, but
Right.
but if
There's an
we're gonna
obligation to play
conduct
a
games
game
down there, then we're gonna
really
get refs
hard.
down.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But having
And,
refs not show,
it really,
that's not reason. That's not acceptable to us that a ref doesn't show, Lindsay, no matter where you are.
yeah.
If
And I
we
wouldn't want you
decide
to
that
just.
we're going to play in Englewood, then if we don't have refs, we will get somebody to find refs, or we'll find out what the problem is down there. But the fact that we have got to know every time we don't have center, if we've got 3 matches or 4 matches down there.
And if there's only 1 or 2, if it's the same person all the time, that's another thing I like to know. You may not know that, but yeah, you need to keep us informed.
That's at first Sherry for sure, the lead person, and then Greg she'll decide if she's going to handle that or get it to Greg or whatever.
Okay, not a problem. We can move on from that. Not a problem. I just was asking. It was just a general question of.
Yeah.
But if you can get a referee, get one. You know.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Then we ask other, okay, you know, we're South County compared
Yeah, we
to.
got it. We got it.
Yeah, we understand, and
We haven't
we know.
forgotten.
Just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure what our protocol was down here. Thank you very much.
Continue to keep us informed.
Find a ref, though, by all means.
Hey, Paul, before you close up, I still haven't heard from the bearded Chris as to which club he's with.
Oh, okay.
Which one?
Which
Who?
one?
What are you talking about?
The bearded Chris I have on cam here.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Because we
Chris
take a
Dragazone, he's our president for Inglewood Youth Soccer, but he's also Fusion.
Okay. And whose box is entitled SA, Sam Apple?
I have no idea.
Well, it doesn't say what club.
It doesn't say, it just says SA.
Spencer Anderson, he's Spencer Anderson, SA. He's our coach that you asked to be on.
Okay.
All right. How are we doing that? Oh, can we adjourn this one and open up the executive committee so we can keep moving?
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Get the minutes for the executive committee. Let's get them approved from the last month.
I just closed them up.
For last month's executive committee. Was that? Well, I wasn't reading. If it was up there.
I know.
Okay.
Hold on. This is November's agenda. I've got to find. Let's go over here.
Oh, what was that picture?
Let's go to the inbox. October minutes. Hold on. Have them up here in a second. Getting better at this stuff.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the October minutes. Yep. That's the October minutes there.
We were back to the same issue, I guess. Well, first of all, will someone approve the minutes or make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's get moving.
All right. And then we go here.
Yeah, let's get back to that agenda. I got it in front of me now.
That's it right there.
All right. The first one, Greg, explain that. Didn't we do that last month, or are we still working on that? Red card issues concerning abuse of
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we had that closed out. Just making sure.
We're talking about the coach, the Hernando coach. Am I correct in assuming that?
Right.
And that was a three game suspension, even though his season's ended for blowing about 12 Fs at the center. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, if you guys during the week when we're adjudicating this, if you've got issues with it, then you've got to email us. That's Alan, Michael, you guys. If there is you want to be heard on these issues, you got to email us and let us know. But this ended up we're trying to figure this out, and I think that Merritt and somebody else, and Greg and somebody and Sherry, decided finally that we got with the FYSA. We looked at the FYSA guidelines, and there was 3 games. So, okay. Neil's email concerning referees and future direction. Now that's long term, but Mike. Did you see Neil's thing there? Did you see his answer to the problem with referees?
I did. Yeah.
And this goes to what we were talking about, centers not showing down in Inglewood. The problem, and we've been saying this, I swear to God, for like 3 years now, and it's now happened. We are losing referees at a much higher rate in youth soccer, period. Forget USA, anybody. We're losing referees at a much faster rate than we're producing them. And we're finally coming into a time where we believe we're almost there, that we will not be able to fill all the games. Now, the solution, one of the solutions to this, unfortunately, would be to limit the amount of teams that play in USA, because we can't cover
The test is too hard. The
Say that
test
again?
is too hard.
Who said that? Sherry, was that you?
No, that wasn't me.
It was Lindsay Mallard from Inglewood Youth Soccer. My
Yeah, Lindsay,
daughter.
okay, just hold that thought. You haven't seen Neil's email, obviously, so it spoke to. Did the rest of you guys read the full email by Neil? Brian, did you ever
Yep.
get it?
Yeah.
We should print that out, Greg, because it is a full review of the issues, one of which is the test.
My daughter's a U14 player. She cried taking the test.
Yeah, well, not only, I mean, that is part of it. I think what did they say, the failure rate? Did Neil say what that was? He did in the thing.
Yeah.
25% more
I
time.
can tell
Dave
you,
told me the same
in our
thing.
small community,
75%.
About 40% of the refs are passing.
yeah, in our small community, we had 17 people take the class this last time. 2
Yeah,
pass.
now, just so you understand, Lindsay, our issue is there was FYSA, which we're a part of. Yeah, but FSR is who does the test and who certifies the refs, and they're completely independent of FYSA.
I
Hence,
understand
completely
that.
independent of our. So we are now trying to get the guys that we know at FSR to look at this issue, but we do not. This is youth soccer at its best, and this is just a good example of it. FSR is completely independent of anybody doing anything about it except complaining to them. They say that there's an open book test. One of the guys on our board, Merritt Guthrie, is a member of the people that run FSR. He's one of the reviewers, and so we're trying to get some information back through him and Neil as to what the problem is when we and Dave also our assigner in C2 mentioned this a month ago to me that it's ridiculous, and we've got to work around the problem right now. The test is one thing, holding more meetings one thing, but basically, Lindsay, so you guys understand, what we're talking about here is that typically USA hires referees. They're independent contractors. FSR manages or gives them their right to be referees, their badges. We don't. What happens, what the suggestion is, and the clubs then have to have the classes for the referees, and the referees come from our member clubs, not from USA, not from our organization, but from the clubs. We know that's increasingly failing. So there's a suggestion, and we won't get to it tonight, but there's a suggestion, given all this problem, is that USA move further into the management of the referees. In other words, that we now start assigning referee teams, the ARs, and start to take a more active role in the management. And that's something we can only talk about tonight in a very general sense, because we're not there. In order to do it, we need a lot more muscle. We need more people. We're volunteers. None of us can take on that kind of job. So we're gonna look at it and maybe come up with some solutions. But the troubling part of this is, at the FYSA AGM, there was not one small, what do you call those things, Micah? We all went to there, the meetings about the problems with the refs, critical problems with the refs. My feeling is, at some point, that this problem with the referees was anticipated, and it's a good way to get rid of all these clubs and all this mess. See, we just don't help with the referees. We'll just dry them up because we haven't got refs anymore. I don't think that's I don't think, and it's a strategy. I don't think there's a, Dr. Strangelove at the front of this thing, but certainly that's what's going to happen. It's going to eliminate the marginal clubs and marginal programs because they won't have referees to do the games, period. And secondly, I think we are probably going to investigate an increase again in the referee fees because we know, A, we're falling behind, and B, we know that is a very small part of the cost of playing soccer, so that it doesn't make for better referees, for sure. They're not going to be any better, but it is going to give an incentive for some guys maybe to take an extra game or to continue to ref because it pays. I don't see that's a good for a purist like Mike and Mario and Merritt. They think that's a very poor reason for a person to referee. I'm an economist by trade. I understand that if we don't pay, people aren't going to come to these matches because it doesn't pay to drive all the way. And Lindsay, specifically to you, it doesn't pay to drive maybe all the way to Englewood, and it's got to. So we've got to eliminate, if we even have to look at paying in some areas more to get referees down there, then that's something we got to put on the table. But we've got to, before this ends, and it's very difficult for this board to really do much. We're all, we're all flat out. But that kind of thing is going to have to come right after the first of the year or somewhere in a planning session for us. So the referee thing is just
Agreed.
It's a terrible problem which we really don't have a lever on. We are responsible, or we're getting hit with the results of it. We do not have the authority to change much in the system as it is.
Understandable.
But so we're if you've got an idea, by all means, please tell us, because it's we're going to have to do something at least to address it. Don't you think, Mike?
Yeah, look, I think what a couple of things that kind of struck me a little bit on the report from Merritt is that they hold clubs responsible to recruit referees, and so a club that does well and in recruiting referees doesn't necessarily reap the benefits first, because those referees may be sent to other clubs to referee at other locations. So it's hard to say, well, you holding clubs are responsible when many clubs don't do what they're supposed to be doing, and I doubt many clubs realize that they are responsible for it. Right. I doubt that.
I mean, we were quoted, I think FYSA does make people responsible for it, Mike, and I would like to see the last time FYSA checked.
That's what I'm saying.
Or gave anybody a tap on the head saying you haven't had a referee class in 4 years.
Correct, and you don't get any referees.
That's the first thing. Secondly, the way the referees sign up, you cannot control who comes to that class. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you can in our area where we've got a high density of clubs, we will not, if we run a class, we will not have 40% of those refs from our club who will stay at our club. We do it for the good of the game. I'm not saying that, but in practical matters, you really can't, you can't build up your referee corps necessarily in some of these areas because of, like, where Brian, we're all in the same area. Those guys come from all over to take that class within 20 miles. If you're down in Englewood or Braden River, you're a little more, that's a little better, But then, Mike, the second thing is, if you fail for 60% of them, that's the other thing. I mean, I know it's an open book test, and I know I understand it was the time was short, but somehow we've got to find somebody in FSR who can discuss this with us and has some control over it.
I think it comes back to the same thing that we talk on a regular basis, is that there is a disconnect between FSR and the game. I think they run their own operation, and we play games, but there's no relationship between the two. And really, if you know, I want to know what FSR does in order to market referee classes on their own for their own organization, not just leave it to us to handle.
Well, Mike, even if a club holds one class to keep them in good standing or whatever, one class is not going to make the percentage of pass go up. They need to have, remedial classes.
Two separate issues, though. Yeah.
Well, but still, we're looking at the amount of referees failing, and it's because we're not, the clubs aren't having enough, training. One class just doesn't do it.
Well, and it goes back to what Neil said, that there's no entry level classes at the moment for young kids to come into the game and learn it at a lower price. They were forced to take this test.
We may need another referee designation.
Yeah, and I think Neil had said, maybe a grade 9, so that there is an introduction to referees course.
Well, but the other problems he outlined, which were, and I don't know what to do about. We know from the last 2 AGMs, Mike and Greg, all of us that went, the guys in South Florida seem to be a little bit ahead of us with the spectator problem, because they've actually asked for 2 very draconian solutions. But obviously, the centers are really affected by the parents. I went to a match today just to observe, and it was the same. Parents screaming at kids on the other team to keep their hands down and watch at number 11, and so that I can see. And this was relatively mild. Nobody really didn't call the cops or anything else. But again, it's a free flow on the other side of the field to scream. It is a rite of passage to scream at the ref the entire match for some morons. And I don't know what to do about that. Maybe we start playing without spectators. I don't know. That may be the solution for some of these things. I don't. Not for me. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But that's, if you cannot move these kids through it because they cannot handle the abuse from the sideline, and it takes a special person to do that, then that's going to have to, you're going to have to eliminate the abuse on the sideline.
No, I think that's a big part of it, yeah.
So it's a we've got all kinds of issues, and not enough.
Cindy from Inglewood. It's not even what the course is about, though. They don't even teach kids how to respond to parents. It's about play. It's about direct calls. And
correct.
How
that's correct. Well, Lindsay, I don't know if
that never show up. They need to know how to call that.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but we have Merritt, on the guy on our board who is not here tonight, we've instituted and we're paying for a mentoring program for guys to go out to these fields. Now, the problem again is we have 8 mentors and we have 3,500 games and we have 8 mentors. But that's what these mentors slowly but surely somehow go out there and observe the guy, and that's the practical thing, saying, look, you can't listen to those parents, or if they're doing that next time, here's what to do, because they do not teach that. Because FSR, again, they are completely, as Mike said, separated from the game and from the common issues of our culture,
It's kind of a moot point. Again, Cindy from Inglewood. I understand it's not your responsibility, and so we need to move on. But at least you guys are addressing it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a really knotty problem. And if somewhere along the line, Lindsay, you get a good idea, please let us know.
Will do.
Absolutely.
Because
we've got it's some of the stuff seems almost insolvable in the position we're in, and we're trying to find a way through it.
I get it.
Continue that. All right, next.
Yeah.
All right, but we've got to do as a board, guys. We've got to go and try and do something, even if it's get the FSR, or let's ask Merritt what we can do as far as the failure rate to start. And then if there's been suggestions, among all you board members about us taking over the referees, I see that as a nightmare administratively. However, maybe we try it with 5 clubs, or in some place we can actually do it and get it done. You know, we test that theory with 5 clubs next year, and we do all the rest, the ARs, the centers, and you know, and some of it's scheduling. And Will made a good point about having to travel between games. You know, in the other leagues you don't have to do that. We've got some ideas. Mike and I do have some ideas there. We have some centrally located large facilities coming on where we can hold some games that everybody comes to and plays that are centrally located, a few. And, you know, we can help there. I don't think that's a solution, but I mean, all things are going to get thrown in there, and we'll see what we can do. All right. Here's the issue of players being able to play in 2 separate divisions, Northport, Sarasota, Englewood. Now, Lindsay, is when you guys are all on. Chris, all you guys, if you got any idea. Greg, can you outline what we do know and ask them, can they help us through this?
All right. I had it up here. Let me see where it's at. Okay. First off, I'm talking with Rosemary in the FYSA office, and she tells me that.
Well, so let's start. This came to us, fellas, from a call before a game from Charlotte County, which we're assuming they're going to at some point protest the match, but we asked them just to hold on. So we'll see what transpires, but but we will, if we get that, we'll let you know at that point.
You know, we lost this.
If we have an answer to it before that, maybe we can just step around it. So go ahead, Greg. So that's how it came.
Right. So this comes to me.
Question about the roster, the game day roster that was presented at the U16 boys game. Am I correct, Greg?
Correct. Yes. All right. So we have 3 players that are club passed on the game card. Okay. And we have a 4th player who's rostered to the team. So the players in question are Connor Anderson, Daniel Bogdanitz, and Esteban Harker Barnes, as well as Jordan Doolittle.
He's released from our club.
Well, maybe today that's true, but when these games were played in the past games, he wasn't. Anyhow.
He's never played this game with our club. He's been released way before they ever played.
Okay. Let me finish. In getting with FYSA, okay, I was told that these players were discussed with you in September and that they were put on you had them on you're using them on an archived ID number.
Do you understand what that is, Cindy?
Well, what I'm getting at is before we even get to that point, you'll have to discuss that with Rosemary, because my confidence.
Okay, well, that's something real quick. Can I talk?
Yes, yeah. Come on, Chris. Tell us what.
Listen, Daniel Bogdanis and Esteban Harker Barnes are registered to our U14 team, and they club pass played to this team. I can give you the team ID if you would like that.
Okay.
Yes, by all means. We're getting somewhere right now.
Yes, they are playing junior season on our U14 team, and they were used as guest players, club pass players, on the U16 team.
Okay. So
Well,
what's
do
the
they
problem?
play let me ask you something, Chris. Did they play on the U16 team in the senior season? Did they first play on the U16 team?
Yes, because U14 just started 3 weeks ago.
Okay, so they've played from the beginning on that U16 club, on that particular team.
No, they did not. Just club player pass. They club player pass to the games that they needed.
Well, no, I'm not asking about the player pass. I'm asking Chris, and I think it's rash. They played U16, correct, from the beginning, or sometime during the senior season. The junior season hasn't started yet, although they could have gone to a tournament with the U16. But you're saying there, Chris, that they are registered to that U14 team right from the beginning and then club passed over to the 16s for their season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's for Daniel and for
and
Esteban.
Esteban.
That's for Daniel and for Esteban, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So no problem there.
All right,
Well,
I don't have an
The
issue
issue
there.
is what we got to get them to do is
So where's the issue?
the numbers
issue-
that were on the club pass, Greg, if I'm not mistaken. And here, Chris, was where the confusion is. The numbers that are used, right, are what they call archived. In other words, they are not. How do you explain that, Greg? The process of archiving. They're registered twice. They're in the system.
They just used a different number. They re-register them under a different number.
They re-registered them. They must have just re-registered them.
You can create another
Yeah,
player.
what
You can
was
create multiple accounts for kids.
You can
That's
create
all.
multiple accounts, but they need to be, the archives have to be deleted, and the other ones need to be merged. And FYSA is telling me that this was asked of the registrar there in Englewood, and it was not accomplished.
Okay. It
Okay.
still doesn't mean that,
But
it still doesn't mean they're an illegal
the
player.
start of this now.
No, it's not that they're illegal, they're ineligible.
Oh, ineligible.
And we have already sanctioned other clubs and teams in this league with
Well,
ineligible
Greg,
players.
they appear to be ineligible. That's why we're trying
Okay,
to.
all right. Are they ineligible
Chris
by
has already-
rule?
Chris has already come up with part of the solution. They're rostered to an under 14 team, so that can be checked, right? Within no
That's for two of the players, Paul, not.
I know, but I'm saying at least we're getting somewhere.
All right, well, I'm not worried about the two players. So the illegal player or ineligible player is ineligible based on what rule?
Based on the fact that as far as Anderson goes,
Yeah, the other player that would, whatever.
all right. Connor Anderson is not on any USA roster.
Okay,
Number one. Okay, that ID number 8916498 again is
Yeah.
archived, and that's what was used on the player pass card somehow. Okay.
Okay, can I interrupt her again?
okay.
I'm going to interrupt
Yes.
you again.
Yeah, what was,
You
yeah,
need
go
to-
ahead.
You need to look and see who added him to a roster. It was Rosemary from FYSA, and we have the help ticket to prove it.
Okay, that's fine, but what is, again, okay, so he was archived, but
When
what
was that?
rule, what rule are they breaking?
What rule
Other
are you
than-
breaking?
Oh, in our bylaws?
You
Yeah,
can't-
in any bylaw.
You can't club pass a player that's not registered.
It's 204.
What? They cannot register what, I don't have them in front of me, I apologize. What,
It says
There.
that you have to be registered to a team in your club in order to be able to be club passed.
okay, so they're not registered to, okay,
Well, we might have found out that they are now. We couldn't
Well, they may
find.
be now, but they weren't when those other games were played.
okay, so what, if I could ask the club now, what roster was he rostered to at the time he was playing? Or club class playing, I should say.
Chris,
As far as I know, he's rostered to that team. He is on his roster as we speak right now.
Okay, so he's a rostered player, not a club class player?
On what ID number?
You got that information. I don't have it.
Okay, but what I'm saying is this young man is not a club pass player. He's a officially rostered player.
He is listed as a secondary player on the roster.
All right.
Why is a secondary player?
it can't be a secondary
You
player.
can't
That's
be a
all.
secondary player. We don't allow secondary players.
No, that would not be, he would have to be just officially registered to that
Right.
team.
He
All
was
Here's
registered as a club player pass under Northport Myers. We had a dual roster approved by whatever. We
No.
did not figure out how to do this because he only plays CDL in Northport Myers.
okay.
He plays USA League with the Fusion. Northport Myers is his home base.
Okay, so
What
Northport Myers is his home base. Okay, so I
Okay.
was just trying to establish
Okay,
where
so he's,
where is he
but
initially.
Lindsay, now, so let's figure this out. So Can I just ask a question? So he is rostered and belongs
To
on
North Fort Myers.
North Fort Myers, which is not your club, not different from your
They
club.
have as a
How does he
secondary
get? How does he get from the North Fort Myers roster to your team?
Dual rostered.
Secondary.
Or secondary.
Rosemary.
Okay, but see, Rosemary doesn't regulate USA rules.
So
Rosemary-
20, that's the second. In other words, just so you understand, or what the issue, what we're trying to figure out. Let me just read this. During league play, a player may only play with his primary team, with no exception of a player, unless he's a club class player as defined by the subsection below. No guest players or secondary registered players are allowed to play.
We understand that, but when we were talking about dual rostering, here's player class, and we have documentation that says that Rosemary said added, and it was added, he was added as a club player, but he is still totally 100% rostered to North Fort Myers, and somehow put on where we cannot release him from our roster, which he did not play against Port Charlotte, like you said.
Well, I show that he was.
He was not. His pass was held back, and he did not play.
He's on the game card.
Well, it doesn't mean
He
he
was on
played.
the card.
Hey. Okay.
They have. Listen, this goes back to the ref issue. Your refs need to know. The center refs need to know what they're
No,
supposed
that's
to do.
not. That doesn't
Not
work.
their-
In other words,
that's
the
not-
referees don't have. The referees do not have this information.
Hey, I'm talking. I'm talking.
That's a waste of time. Let's keep going. It's not the referee.
Well, it's the coach.
Let's
It's the
find out.
coach's responsibility to cross off any players on the game
Well,
card that
it's
is not
registered.
playing.
That doesn't work.
Okay, let me see if I have the chain of events right here. First of all, Connor was registered with what's the team? I forgot the team. Englewood. I'm sorry. Connor was registered with Englewood with an 891-6498 pass number.
Okay.
You're telling me he was released and then primarily registered with North Fort Myers under a 194-6379.
Okay, so they created a new.
And was secondarily registered back to Englewood so that he could be club passed or played. So, bottom line, first of all, we don't allow secondary players in USA.
Why?
It's been that way for years.
Well, it's just the rule.
Who knows?
Why?
Board of directors. That's a member.
Doesn't really matter. It was voted on by the clubs and the organizations at one point in time. That's just
Why?
the rule. We don't know why. Gotta
Show up and put a new bylaw on and to be
put a bylaw. I mean, it was I mean, if it was recent, we would know why. But it was years and years and years ago that it was determined.
Yeah, we went back to the second.
Why is irrelevant at this point?
4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Or 4 or
I don't
5
know.
years ago. Some of us weren't even on the board at that time.
Wait a minute, didn't we do that because the club pass rule came into effect?
Yeah, it might have been. Might have been.
We eliminated all that when we could club pass kids.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That is right.
Got rid of guest players and secondary players when we.
But that was 4 or 5 years ago. The why, but the why it is.
Why is irrelevant at this point? Of why we did
But,
that.
here's
It's
my
what it
question,
is.
Greg, and to the guys from North Fort Myers or from Englewood. How does a number? That's what I can't. I mean, I'm having a hard. The number, his original number. If you drop them back into the, am I correct? Aren't I, Greg? When you drop them back into the, you drop them, you release them, you drop them back into the pool. He has got a number of 891-6498 that stays with him.
Correct.
Okay, how does he get 1946379?
They created a different account.
They didn't create him. They created him as a new player,
A
not
brand new player. They just created another account.
Okay.
the same way.
It's one kid, same kid, right?
And that's not an issue. It's not supposed
No.
to
That's
happen
what I'm
that
trying
way.
to figure out.
Yeah.
It's only an issue if you use that 8916498 somewhere that it shouldn't be playing. That could be the only issue, right? It still identifies the child, even though he's got two
Correct.
player pass numbers. It's still the
Correct.
same.
That doesn't
Okay.
come into play as far as.
So you, so I when I stop, okay. Yeah, Chris, I see there are rosters of secondary players right now. Tell me who they are, and we'll do the same thing. That's what we're trying to figure out now.
Yeah.
This is something that we just, when we found this, we got one more kid here to look at, but I mean, the two kids we know right now are rostered with Englewood, primarily rostered to them club pass players. So we can
That's
check.
not an issue.
That's off the
Right,
table.
number 2's off the table.
That's not an issue.
Or
Yeah.
you got to check it, but I mean, it's good. That's good. I mean, that's a revelation. Now, Connor, we're talking about Connor right now, and he's either a secondary player, which is not allowed, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Or what else, guys? The guys from Englewood. What other designation could he be? Is there another one that we can look at?
Not to help their case because he's primarily registered to
Well, it's not a case even right now, Greg. I'm saying if there's a way, like the coach just explained where the two kids came from, so that's good.
Right. Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
And how about Connor, guys?
Who?
Connor Anderson. So the question is, under any one of these numbers, right? Under any one of these numbers.
He has to be listed as a primary player on a USA rostered team. Under any of those numbers.
On an Englewood USA roster.
On an Englewood, yes, correct. Under an Englewood rostered team,
Right.
according to our bylaws. It doesn't matter what number,
Right.
as long as the number is appropriated by FYSA. FYSA can secondary pass. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
can secondary.
secondary pass is perfectly reasonable for FYSA, but not in our league.
That's correct. It's not illegally done. It can be done for multiple reasons, secondary passing, but we don't allow it as.
No, I got you.
He could be secondary roster to the team for tournaments for all
For
we
tournaments,
Yes,
for
right.
other
As long as they're-
organizations, for
as long as
CDL.
they're
That's
not
not,
playing
that's
in-
not the issue.
Right.
Item number 3 falls under the same issue. Jordan Doolittle is registered to the Sarasota Boys Blue GPS team and is
Okay.
secondarily registered back to Englewood.
Okay, so if it is in our bylaws that they
Let's talk
cannot
to Englewood.
secondary.
Is that their understanding of this? Guys?
This is what happens when I look it up.
No, but let's find out from them.
Is there
if-
anything different than what we're thinking?
Right.
Well,
Chris says Jordan Doolittle was released before any games were played.
Well, he still showed up on game cards. And we know that the only way a game card can get generated is if he's on the roster. So he was on the roster. Otherwise, the game card would not have been generated.
Are you saying he wasn't released?
It's not a matter whether he was
It's not a
checked
matter
in
of release.
or not.
It's a matter.
Okay?
Well,
He's
okay, but-
ineligible on that roster because he's already rostered to another club.
But if the kid never showed up, let's just say this is a clerical error. If the kid never showed up to a game, wasn't checked in, right? As
Yeah.
they're saying, that is an answer, correct, to this thing?
Well, I wouldn't put words in their mouth. I would want to hear that from
No,
them.
that's what he just said.
Well, they did say that they did, one of them, I'm not sure which one we're discussing, but did not
Oh,
play.
Chris
Right.
just sat a chat out, Greg, with that on
Understood.
it. So,
But again, the registrar fell short in that the archived ID was still used
yeah, no problem. But
and
let's,
not deleted. So we've got a clerical issue here like we did with Dynamo and with
the clerical thing is more understandable. If the kid never played a game and someone left them, I mean, I don't understand how the kid got left on a roster if you dropped them, but that's not,
Okay.
let's figure out, did he play any matches?
I
We
again
don't know based on
we
the
don't
referee
know.
checking him in or not checking him in.
again
They
so we would have to know somebody that knows him. Obviously the Charlotte people know him, and if they said they saw him at the game and he was kitted out, then we got to believe it.
Really?
Well,
Really?
It's
Really?
up to the coach and or the referee to.
No, I'm sorry. It's not up to the coach. It's up to the referee.
Not up to the referee
That was
either.
It's not the
noted
referee's
on the game
decision.
report. If there's a challenge to the player eligibility, it must be noted per your rules. It must be noted on the game report, and it must be noted on the online game report. Otherwise,
Okay.
there is no challenge if it's not challenged before the game.
The protest doesn't have to be logged immediately at the game.
It's on the game report. It says in your bylaws and rules, it must be noted on the game report, and it must be noted on the online report, and it must be happening before the game. Otherwise, it's not a challenge.
That's not
Read
true.
your rules. Read your rules.
Okay, well, you know what? Stop yelling.
We will.
That's not
That's how we know. The question is now,
If that's the rules, then we'll follow those rules, but you don't
Yeah, but
need to be
Jordan
adamantly.
Jordan Doolittle never played for them. Is that a fact?
All right. It really doesn't matter. If
It matters.
not
It
a
matters to
challenge,
me.
if
It
it's
matters.
not a challenged player eligibility on the game report, then it's bygones.
How would they know? How would the other team know?
What section of the bylaws are you referring to?
Let's see. I can
I'm
get
asking, how would the other team know to challenge?
I don't know, but your rules say they have to do it
Okay,
before the game.
if you could tell me, if you can again, I apologize because I do not have the bylaws in front of me, but
Yeah,
if you
and
can,
I can go look at it, but we already had a protest last year that was over a week old. And
It's
we had
section
it uphold-
204.
well, I'd like to know if
Yeah,
he's,
but still,
if he's quoting our bylaws, I'd like to know if we're
Section
incorrect.
204A. Any challenges to any player eligibility must be made before the game starts and will not require a protest fee. Referee will notate challenge on the game card and submit to USA, as well as notate challenge in the online game report.
Yeah,
Here you
but a protest afterwards requires a fee.
That's what that was put in
Yeah,
for.
that's all.
Okay.
I mean.
So
It
where is the
doesn't say you
protest
can't
fee?
do it. It say it's a fee.
Okay, so there's a protest procedure. And the protest
That's
procedure
correct.
comes in
That's
107 of protest and appeals.
That's correct.
So, and we shouldn't even be talking if there's a protest because it requires a 5-day notice of the hearing and a $100 protest fee.
That's correct, because none of
If that
these
happens.
kids, we're not asking right now, no one's protested anything.
This may be a completely non-issue because if nobody
We've already-
protests, we're
We've
not
already
even going
gotten
to worry
those two
about it.
kids. Right, so
I
at
was
this
asked,
point,
Exactly. So it resorts back to section 204. If
Steve,
there wasn't
At this
a-
point, yes.
I was asked by Rosemary and FYSA, all right, to get an understanding from the clubs as to what was going on and how these players, A, were allowed to do this on these rosters as being subordinately registered, okay? And not
but
on.
let's go back. We've got all three of them sussed out. We know two of them are on the rosters. We could check with FYS. You can just check the roster.
Yeah,
Guys, can I just boil this down for you real quick? We've got a club at Port Charlotte that the parents and the coaches are way too involved. They identified a player that was misrostered for some reason that did not
Right.
play. They got beat. And the player that they're complaining about, or the players they're complaining about, none of them participated in the game. They got beat at, and they're having sour grapes.
Well,
They're spending-
obviously, yes, I'm sure that is the case.
That's
I mean,
totally the
yeah.
case.
Because if
No,
they had won,
no.
if they had won, they wouldn't have
Steve,
cared.
That's not correct. That's incorrect. They called us. We were called before the match. We just couldn't do anything before the match. I said,
Who was called during the match? I mean, who called during
I
before
was,
the
Greg
match?
was. We were called before the match and saying, hey, this roster's not right. These kids. We said, we don't know. Look, Charlie, go play the game, play the match because that's what we want to do, and we'll figure it out afterwards.
Okay, so
let's take the first time we played them. We
That's
played them
what we're doing.
twice. The first time we played them, they beat us. Did they make a big deal out of it then?
Well, I don't know.
Who called you? Who called you? FYSA called you, or the other team called you?
Charlotte called. Charlotte called before the match and said there's a problem with the roster. The rosters are kids that are rostered on North Fort Myers or somewhere else.
Okay.
I had no time to. Now I had to draw down the rosters. You got to go look. It took us a week to get this far to even figure out that geez, we can't find some of these kids. Now we know where two of them are, so that's good, right?
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't know
Okay.
why, Chris. I don't know why it was notated. I'm not the center. I asked them to. I talked to them. If they don't come up with a protest fee, nothing's going to happen.
Well, additionally,
There might not be a protest because if all these kids are legitimate, we're good. If one never played and the other guy, then,
Well, if they realize they didn't
Yeah, no,
play,
basically-
then they're not going to protest.
well, I'm not even going to entertain it. All right?
That's what I'm saying.
No,
In addition, they didn't note it on the game report, which is part of the rules. They
That's
have to note it on the game report.
that's
Well, they
that's
didn't
for
note
not
it, maybe
to pay
because you're
$100.
right.
That's
If
for not to incur the $100 fee.
yes,
Before the
that's
game.
just to get around
The
the
material. Don't worry about the game card. My problem here is that I was talking with Rosemary, and she told me that this was all sorted out with your registrar, and they were going to merge and or delete the multiple IDs for these players. It was not done. And hence they showed up still as Club Pass players on the game cards. That's the bottom line here.
Well, that's a different issue to some
No, it's
degree.
not the same issue. It's issue 1 and 3. That's what issue 1 and 3 is.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
well, let me ask you something. With the two kids, though, we can look on that they are rostered. If we look on the under 14s, we should find them. So let's separate them and get that out of here. So we're not even
Let me go
talking about
look.
Jordan. The answer for that can be he never played. He's on the roster. He's just floating on a roster, right?
Okay, so he needs to come off the roster then.
Well, why you got a kid? Steve, is there any? There's no.
Or at least
There's
crossed
no
off and
rule.
noted he's
Hey,
not
I got a
playing.
roster. The kid never shows up. We did roster him just in case he comes back from Columbia, right?
Well,
And-
then
Regard-
cross him off. But then they should tell their coach. And again, whether it's the coaches or not the coaches,
yeah, but they've
responsibility,
not. They've
to
not
cover
done-
yourself,
if
just
that is
cross
the
him off.
case, if that is the case, right?
Just cross him off and say he's not playing today. That's what I do. I mean, any roster I turn into a referee, I say this gentleman's not playing, this gentleman's not playing, this gentleman's not playing.
All right.
That protects yourself.
Where is that in the
Chris,
bylaws?
Chris,
No, but I'm
Jordan,
just saying I'm not saying it's in the bylaws. I'm just saying that, if that coach would have done that, and again, there's no protest, so we're not arguing it, but just for the future, you might want to, make that suggestion. If you have this issue with these players, make sure that is done so we for sure know. But if this other club realizes that these players didn't play, then they're probably not going to put in a protest because there is none. Or they didn't note it because they didn't play.
In regards to item number 2.
But as far as the item number 2, as far as FYSA is concerned with wanting to know why this wasn't done, why is that? Are they breaking a rule there, or is that just something that they were told to do? Is that an FYSA issue when we're just investigating?
yeah,
or is that
that's
an us
that's
issue?
up to FYI. For us, Greg, and Steve. Point is that those guys, if they're on an under 14 team, then they're Club Pass players. They appear on the roster as a Club Pass player.
That's not an issue.
If they got the number wrong because it was archived or anything else, that is, to me, that's not a.
That's a clerical error, and clubs do that
That's
all
not a
over the
big
place.
issue, really. That's not, that's kind of,
I mean, FYSA then needs to get with
Yes.
Inglewood or whoever and say, look, you need to clean up your. That's not a
we know
USA
Jordan,
issue.
we know Jordan is on the North Fort Myers roster. We got to clear that up. In other words, if he's on there, then he can't play. He is not eligible to play on this team as a secondary player.
Right, and they're saying he
To
didn't
come off
play.
of that roster and go on the Northport roster.
Right.
If anybody complains, then we'll take a look into that particular issue. If we
Okay.
get it, if they fall through. Let me ask you the third guy though. The fact that he hasn't played and he's on a roster, is that a problem for us at all?
Well, the fact that he is rostered to a Sarasota team and secondarily rostered back to Fusion, he needs to be taken off of there,
Yeah.
and he doesn't show up on the roster,
Right.
on the game card.
But I will talk about this tomorrow. But I mean, if he never showed up for a match, Greg, my
I don't
point.
know that.
No, that's what. Well,
Yeah.
we'll find that out.
We don't know that. Why would they? Again, why would they put him on there if he wasn't going to be used?
Because look, obviously, if they have these old archive numbers, correct, then things are not, something's messed up there anyway. In other words, as far as their record keeping and everything else. But that's different than ineligible kids that are not eligible to play in the league, and that's what we got to decide.
Chris,
Look at. We just got to get it down to the final, to the
Okay. Right. Okay.
It's a correct issue.
As far as number 2 goes, put a line through it. My apologies.
Well, no, hey, Greg,
No,
check
put a line,
the 14s, though.
line through number 2. He is on. They are both are on the 14 and under team.
Okay, so
Okay,
we've
good.
resolved that, so we can
We've
close
resolved
that
that.
We
issue.
resolved that. Good.
My
That's really good.
apologies. Hey, my apologies. But I am looking at.
No need to apologize.
No,
We're just.
I did. I must have missed something there. But I am looking presently, right now, at the 16 Fusion team, and Jordan Doolittle is on the roster. So you did not take him off the roster as Rosemary had asked you in September.
Okay,
So I don't know. And again, I'm looking at it plain as day right here. Anybody else that wants to go into Got Soccer can find it.
Is he dual rostered?
According to my investigation, he is rostered to Sarasota Boys Blue, the GPS team. And the only way you could get back to this club is A, they never took him off the roster, or B, they secondary.
well, how could he ever been
Where is it
rostered to the other
rostered?
team as if he was rostered to this team? You can't, unless you're secondary rostered, you can't.
Well,
Well, just what you said, Steve.
I can roster anybody from a USA team to a CDL team. They are not in Got Soccer. They use spreadsheets.
Right, yeah, I know that, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so I have no way of knowing other than when I went surfing on the web to see his picture and everything on the roster.
Yeah, okay. See, that's the problem. CDL does not use God Soccer.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
All right, but
Yeah.
so as far as I'm concerned, like I said, I see him on the roster here. How that got there, I don't know. Again, I'm not.
But my question still remains: if he was for everybody right now, we'll pursue this week. But if Jordan Doolittle never played a game, never showed up, never put a set of cleats on, then we got a clerical issue.
So,
We don't have an eligible player.
okay,
we have
so
an
let me,
eligible player on the roster. Right.
on the roster.
You do.
Yes.
You may.
You may.
I may.
Well,
I'm
we don't
told
know.
that.
Like I said,
I'm told that he's got 7728066.
And you're looking at a CDL roster? Is that what you're looking
I'm looking at a USA roster, but he's also archived under a 2114015.
it's the same problem, same issue.
Okay, well, but my point is he's rostered to the Sarasota Blue, Boys Blue GPS.
Which is a CDL team.
No, that's an FYSA team, though, right?
It's not a USA team.
It's a
But it's not-
CDL team.
But it's FYSA.
It's a GPS team, Global Premier.
Oh,
But they're an FYSA. They're registered FYSA, correct?
I don't know.
well, if they're not FYSA registered, then they don't fall
Well,
into that regulation.
But he's on the roster. He is rostered to a USA FYSA team.
Yes, he is.
Okay, and if he's also on this other global, whatever you said,
Right.
then it's not an FYSA team, so it's not really a violation.
Well,
Can't be
he's
rostered to
registered,
two players.
he's registered to two teams, Steve, and he never played on one of them. That's something we'll look at if there's a protest.
No, but I mean, even if he did, I thought you.
No, because he'd have to be primary with. He would have to.
Oh.
He is
He
primary.
wasn't primary. He wasn't primary with the.
Maybe he is.
Well,
He could be secondary to the other guys.
yeah, from what I'm seeing here, he's primary to, he still is primary to the Fusion team.
So then he's okay.
Yeah, but here's a question I have.
He hasn't been removed.
He has two separate player pass numbers. He's playing under one at one place, one under one on the other. He hasn't declared his primary or secondary status on either one of them. He doesn't need to.
Okay.
Correct?
This global premier, whatever league,
No,
uses
it's
FYSA passes.
FYSA.
No, Global Premier is an organization that has multiple clubs under their badge.
Yeah, they got
Okay.
Orlando.
I believe it's North Fort Myers that is now Global Premier or whatever.
on this
Yeah,
coast.
correct. So they've got teams in Orlando. They got teams all over the state as an umbrella under which clubs are playing. And so this is what we got to find out is if they are moving players that are registered to one club in FYSA to another league to take advantage of the GPS badge.
That's what I'm trying to
That's
wrap myself around. Yeah.
that's right on point.
Okay. So that's even a further
And I
investigation.
think that's where FYSA has a problem, is that they are moving players between clubs under the GPS badge.
Is it an FYSA organization
Well, Mike, for
affiliation?
FYSA, that's not a problem. That's not an issue for them, right?
I think they're using the North Fort Myers.
That's only a league problem, not an FYSA problem, though,
Yeah.
Kyle.
They're not FYSA then, right?
No, they are. They're running
They are.
under. They're running under. Like, for example,
Okay. I know, I got you.
no, I'm just saying the existing club that last year just changed their name and logo to GPS, but they're still using their old
Okay.
whatever it is, whatever they used
Okay.
to be, like North Fort Myers or Charlotte Premier, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just to change the name and logo. They joined this umbrella. It's a business. It's a
But let's go
it's a
back.
franchise.
FYSA has no problem with anybody being registered to one of those teams and to one of our teams or anybody, CDL team. That's not a FYSA doesn't care that they're on two rosters. Now,
It's just which one's primary.
FYSA is, do they have to declare a primary and secondary if they are on two rosters? I don't know that. If FYSA doesn't require that, Kai, then no one is primary or secondary at all. So he's just as primary to this team as to the
Yeah.
former.
As the other team.
Well, no, it becomes a FYSA problem because of State Cup and Region Cup rosters.
Well, they got to choose at that point, don't they, Mike, to declare which team is their primary team when they go when that team applies to the tournament.
I mean, that's what for. I think this is an FYSA issue to my.
Yeah, that sounds like
Well,
a FYSA.
but I'm saying, I think when you're on two teams, right, you then have to declare to get into the cups. You have to be on one roster or
Yeah,
the other.
you do, but you don't necessarily
has
have to
to
do
happen.
it for regular season.
But you have to you have to physically leave one team and get to the other team.
Correct. You can't be
You have to
rostered on
drop
two
at that
teams.
point. You have to drop the other one.
Yeah, you have to drop one. Yeah, of course.
But not until that date.
The deadline, prior to the deadline,
Yeah. Well, when is that deadline? January?
January.
Guy, do you know?
Is it? I thought it was
I
last.
thought it was late.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know for State Cup.
Well, State Cup is State Cup is a lot later.
Yeah,
Yeah, State Cup's is like March, I think.
Commissioner's Cup is, I think, December 1st.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the point is, the kid hasn't had to make a declaration. So let's start. We got Connor. We got a question about him, whether he's a primary or secondary. We kind of know the answer, I guess, to that. But we don't have, if we're going to protest, that's an issue. We've already sussed out most of it. We'll come back to these guys. We'll tell them there's a protest and we'll then.
Well, and then I think we also need to
At least
just
we can
find out if FYSA does require them to declare a primary and a secondary, because if they don't, then they can declare whichever one they want. And so therefore, whether it's a gray area or not,
Well, but that's a big difference.
well, yeah, but
If we've got something in here about no secondary players and we can't determine what they are,
then therefore they're not secondary players.
that's correct. Or there's no
So then
definition.
therefore there was no rule broken.
Good. That's
So
what I mean.
what I'm saying is we have to, maybe Greg can recall Rosemary or whoever and say, what are these, which one is their primary? And if they say, well, neither one of them are, then
Well, if
the
they were,
question's answered.
if he was primary on our team, on USA team, he wouldn't need a club pass.
Correct.
Correct.
So, discussion over. But I don't think that's the case.
Well, no, if he was on the roster, he can't be on the roster, right?
He's still on the roster. Doolittle is. Doolittle's still on the roster.
Well, if he's on the roster, why did he show up as a club pass player?
Jordan Doolittle?
Yeah.
Jordan Doolittle is dual. It appears he is dual roster. He's rostered to Sarasota Boys Blue and to Fusion.
Is there a designation of secondary and
Not that I can tell.
So therefore, we don't know.
We don't know, correct.
So
We get a
only
quote-
FYSA would know if there was a no.
But, and if he is secondarily registered to us, he's still ineligible.
Yes, if there is in fact a system that,
If there's a designation system, yeah.
Yeah.
If FYSA says, oh yeah, his first primary is this team and this
Great,
is
let
what
me
we
ask
consider
you.
a secondary.
Now,
if you dual register, when you finally have to make a choice, is that the only time that you, no. We saw on Kai, the team that you played, under 11 team from Sarasota, am I correct?
yeah, they had to end up, well, they removed their, they end up having like 4 secondary or 5 secondary guest
Well,
players.
So on that one, there was
They removed
clear-
all of them. They removed all of them.
Yes, but I mean, but that was clear that S
Sneaky,
meant
sneaky.
that they were secondary to that team. That S defined. Why is it?
I guess I'm a little confused on something. How is this player registered with so many different clubs at one time?
Because
Yeah,
they're
that's
both
what I'm trying to figure
FYSA
out.
doesn't-
Because they're not all affiliated with GPS. So how is that possible?
No, FYSA doesn't care. I can register with your club and Mike's club.
Yeah, but no, because I can't sign it. Wait a minute. Wait, I can't sign a player from the Raiders over to PCU because they have to release him first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how is that? You can't do it any other way.
That's when, unless they register as a secondary. But that has to be done through,
Yeah, but they're different leagues, though. You're looking at different leagues.
Right.
What league does North Fort Myers play in?
FSPL.
FSPL, okay, which is a Florida State Premier
So
League.
then
Yeah,
they are
so it's
FYSA,
So it's a separate league from USA League.
but they have to be they have to be
But
FY.
through God Soccer, you
Yeah,
can't.
but that's what they've done. What they've done is that they've registered the player under in 2 different leagues, and therefore they've got 2 different numbers for the players.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
Mike, still FYSA is still a registering. What happened with FYSA is they left the archive number in there, right? In this case.
Well, what name? What are the full names?
You know, FYSA, but God
Yeah,
Soccer.
I see what you're saying, Mike. I
God
see what
Soccer
you're saying.
can't. I went through this last weekend. We tried to do it. God Soccer won't check names. All they do is
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. They've got what are the full names that they
So
were?
if they left an initial off of one, or you
No,
know,
we're
they,
looking at, which player are we looking at? Anderson?
no Doolittle.
Doolittle. Jordan Doolittle. It's the same way it is. JORDEN
Yeah, but the point is with FYSA, it's clear you can be a primary player on one club
Okay,
and secondary player in another club in FYSA.
agreed.
But not in the same league.
They don't. FYSA doesn't care.
I don't think they care.
We would not allow that to play, but FYSA has no rules because they're
Right.
not a playing league. They're not. They're an association. They're not a league. So they don't have
But
any.
you've got to register the player to a league.
You only got to register them to a team, Mike.
you created 2 different accounts for this player,
Right.
and you registered them under
Right.
one account with USA and under one account with whatever other league, FSPL.
Which
or
FYSA
whatever.
says you got to merge them, boys.
Right. So that's what happened. That's what they did. They just created 2 different accounts and registered them to 2 different teams because, like Mike said, they're in 2 different leagues. So there's no secondary and there's no primary.
Well, they should have. I mean, in normal circumstances, though, Steve, they use the player pass number that the child is associated with from the start.
Mhm.
If I don't recognize that, if I say, well, I don't know if a kid moves to Lutz from Cape Coral and they say, would you play before? I say, I don't know. I got no idea if I played or not. Your register goes to register him and, doesn't find a number or the exact spelling. So they sign him
create a new account.
player, as a new player,
Correct.
on another account.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
so whoever created that knowingly knew they were creating a new account.
Yes.
It seems that way, yes.
Yeah.
It appears as such, yes.
Yeah.
That's the only way it can happen.
That's the only way you can do 2 FYSA
they
roster.
did it. Yeah, I mean, it looked, you know, look, there may not be nothing wrong, but
No.
they lost the first game, they corrected themselves for the second game, and so we go forward.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't have, we're just, I mean, this was one thing, Mike, the only reason we looked into it is it was so odd that we can't find these numbers that we're trying to figure out what it is anyway. You know, in other words,
The only-
this is the general problem. This isn't just a problem here, if it is a problem at all. It's a
Well-
general problem that we have bylaws here, and we got no way of the secondary player or primary player.
There was
How
no
do you do
secondary
that?
player.
Greg, what were the
Well,
dates
you
of the
can
two
look on the
registrations?
system.
I don't have the dates for the GPS team.
Yeah.
I guess let me ask you this real quick. I just for USA League purposes, is this kid or any of these kids we've been all talking? Are they playing for multiple clubs or teams in the USA League at one time?
I don't. No.
No. But
Isn't that the idea you're trying to get to?
no,
The secondary player stuff.
the
Yeah, correct. We don't want to. Right, correct. We don't want a player playing for two different clubs.
In the
Correct.
USA League. In the
Correct. Yeah,
Now that we
that's
have
correct.
45 different leagues.
Yeah, we wouldn't want
That's
them playing
exactly
for
why
St.
we
Pete
were
Raiders one day and then PCU the next week. Right. That's part of that secondary process. Right.
Right.
Yeah, we would agree with that.
I mean, if you're getting to the intent of the rule is not being disregarded by any means whatsoever.
Correct. It does sound like that. Yes. If he's playing FSPL with one club and he's playing USA with the other, you know, it's
Right.
it is two different leagues. Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But that's why we had you guys. I mean, we
And so therefore you're not really breaking a rule as far as my interpretation.
Okay, here's
We don't know that.
Okay.
But
no. But there's no contest either, Mike. We're not going to go any further.
Steve, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to draft a letter to Ed Kinsey, Dave Patilio, Tim Smith, and Rosemary Napoleoni.
Yeah.
Okay, telling them that everything is kosher because they have found out that these were not registered and not done properly the first time.
But
But
Greg,
that's an FYSA problem.
That's
That's
not
Why
not
are
a
they having
US.
us look into this? I'm just
Exactly.
asking.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm just asking.
because we had a club call, Kai. We looked into it and we couldn't figure out. This was totally strange. We couldn't find any of these kids. So all of a sudden we're realizing, well, let's ask the club what's going on because it's the fastest way to do this. Rather than us, we would have never.
Did they break an FYSA rule?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. That's up to FYSA.
Well, then what is FYSA worried about?
They're not. We were calling them trying to find the kids.
Okay, so if I were to call Rosemary tomorrow and say, okay, we found the kids, they're registered according to what we've investigated. It seems like they have two different accounts, one being with an SPL team or CDL team.
Yeah, which she
Correct.
already said she wants them to merge into one account.
Okay, so this is just them saying merge your accounts.
Correct. Well,
So if Rosemary can call them and say, hey, merge your accounts.
And
Why are we being involved in this now? If they did not break one of our rules.
It's because the other team is sad and being crybabies because they lost the game.
well, no, I mean,
Well, that's irrelevant. If they did
No,
not break a rule,
no.
they didn't break a rule.
But
If
they
you didn't
have
break a rule,
direct connection to FYSA through Ed, and Ed is tapping the contacts in FYSA and it's coming back down to USA.
okay. Well, I have no problem drafting a letter like that.
Yeah,
Then
but
if
we
they
don't-
didn't break a rule,
yeah, but we don't need. I mean, we're not going to get involved.
but it's not really our issue
If we
anymore.
have no protest, if we have a protest, we go into this. Now we have a good background. We understand where the kids came from, who they went to, so we can answer it or we can investigate it and finish.
No, we used, and I'm not opening up Pandora's box here, but we used to have a rule a long time ago that say that if you could not play in USA if you were registered with any other organization, such as CDL, or I think it was just CDL at the time, because this was an old rule.
Well, no,
And I don't think that's in there.
Steve,
anymore.
I think what you're thinking about, and here is what the one question becomes that, man, it's too hard to do, is we wouldn't allow the kids to play in the second division where this team is playing.
Correct,
We
right.
wouldn't allow a
right.
kid to play down in the second division if he played for the CDL because they only had one league. We
Right.
assumed they were a premier division like our premier
Correct.
division. So that broke the rule that, hey, we don't want kids being sandbagged down on a division
Correct.
team.
Right, right.
This is a Division II team. Is the other team he's playing on? Well, now you have to.
That's the question mark. So I think it does open up an avenue that we still need to look into now that we have all these multiple.
You can, but it's much more difficult. This is such a murky thing that finding out all this stuff tonight is going to help. First of all, the two kids they're fine.
Two kids are fine. The other two.
Now the question becomes for FYSA: on these two teams, do they need to declare one as secondary? Obviously,
If they did not, then
Sarasota
as well.
Yes, we were clearly able to see that 4 of the players on a U11 team were secondarily.
Correct, because it said secondary, right?
Yeah, it said S. It was clear, but it probably because they were from the same club, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But they could have club passed them. That's what I don't get, Kai. Why didn't they just club pass those 3 kids?
Might have just didn't think of, sometimes
but these
registrars
things
don't realize the difference between the
we're
two.
going to start to get our hands around them because the way things are now, we got 12 different leagues. We have to.
We need to establish some kind of
figure out our
understanding,
relationship to them and how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
every
that's, I
week
think,
we
a
don't
bigger
have someone
issue.
calling up saying, I don't know about the roster.
Yeah.
This is like a test case to figure out exactly how this is going to work.
Hey, at what venue could someone bring up a proposal for a new rule?
Absolutely, you can.
At what venue though? Where would that be?
Just you would
Before the
propose
AG, before the
you could
AGM.
put it in, just put it in writing and email it to either Jerry or
But
Greg.
tell us right now.
Well, I think the intent is that, like we discussed, that no player plays on more than one USA League team. I think it's
initially
getting
the
very
intent.
murky when you bring in the secondary prohibition because FYSA allows you to go roster the clubs. And with the secondary prohibition, you are then usurping FYSA's dual rostering ability. And it especially with this year where we did the age groups, with the team that I'm familiar with, it went from 18 people rostered and they retained 6 of those. They picked up non-competitive players and kids who had never played just to put a team together so they could keep playing. And now they're playing Division II, and they're 4 and 5 or something.
Right.
It's an interesting situation.
I think you're missing where the secondary and primary thing started was when USA had one league, right? And they weren't allowing the teams to move kids around from primary to secondary.
Right, but see, now we have so many
Now we have
different
so
leagues.
many,
We
we've
need
got to
to
decide how
we
we're
need
gonna
to
go,
kind
how
of
we're gonna
vamp
go.
that rule to include or not include, how we want to word it based on how we want our kids where and how we want our kids playing. Yes, initially the intent of the rule, which we said was 4 or 5 years ago, was but there was 4 or 5 years ago, even there was 2 leagues in this area. There was CDL and there was, and there was USA. Now there's FSPL and all these other, different leagues that are coming about. So I just think the rule needs to be revisited and either vamped up or vamped down or eliminated or whatever. But we need to, discuss that. And if anybody has a suggestion, Inglewood, if you have a suggestion, then put it in writing and let's hear what it's about. I'm not saying, we're right,
Steve,
wrong, or whatever.
I think we need to revisit and take a look at that secondary thing.
Yeah, I think we need to look at that again.
Either we're going to leave it in there and define it or not.
If it's going to be used as a gray area to get around or not get around, then I think it just needs to be updated, just like everything else needs to be updated based on the new, what's been going on over the past 4 or 5 years with all the new leagues, and now CDL having a Division I and a Division II.
Yeah, they got a second division. So.
And what is the intention of the rule now? We knew what it was 4 or 5 years ago, but it's different now, or is it different now? And that's what we have to look into. Yeah. But as far as FYSA is concerned, I think, they need, I would be glad to talk to Rosemary and say, well, through our investigation, whether morally it was right or wrong, that's irrelevant. If they need to,
Yeah,
they
but
need to clean up
Steve,
their
we don't
rosters.
really have any answers. Rosemary and them can do all, they can look and say, oh, I got this, I got this.
But as far
All
as
we
any
know
rule
is-
broken, we don't see any at this point.
Well, we don't have a protest either. So why even, why,
No, I think it's an FYSA thing.
pop up with FYSA if we
No,
don't
but
have-
even if we did have a protest, unless there was something else that came into it that we're not aware of right now, I
Yeah.
don't. If this was a protest on the table from what we've investigated,
Well, you got Connor has definitely got a primary and secondary, and there's no secondary
well,
player.
then that's an issue. But the other one, no.
But again, if FYSA does not force that choice until the playoffs come,
Then
and you have to
it's a
make the
right.
choice between one or the other.
Right.
Can you see the highlighted area that I put out there?
Yeah, no, that you're right, Greg. I mean, that was I said. That's when I gave you 2 and 4 this week.
Yeah.
My point is, if FYSA does not designate a secondary and primary team with a player that is registered to 2 teams under their jurisdiction, which we are under their jurisdiction, if they do not identify one or the other, how do we know if they're primary to Englewood or is he secondary to the Sarasota GPS team or North Fort Myers? Connor may have made a decision, and in FYSA he may be denoted as a primary and secondary. Then you got some basis to do, to look at it. But we got to go back to FYSA now and say, hey, look, does it, if they're registered with 2 teams, does one have to be a primary, one have to be a secondary, and when do they have to make that choice? Well, hey, Kai, when those kids came up as your secondary players this year, those 4 kids that came up from Sarasota, where were they primary to? Do you know?
That I don't know. I didn't look at it. I just noticed it on the game card that said secondary player.
No, I saw that. Hey, Greg, did you see that card? It had S's on it, every one of them. These kids have no S's on anything.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So none of these gives has S's on?
Well, that just means that they're-
secondary. You can only secondary a player that's in your own club. Got Soccer won't allow it unless
Right.
goes around it.
Unless Rosemary goes around it.
So there's no designation. So
I
you're saying there's no
actually-
designation between 2
Right.
clubs.
Right. I
Right.
actually have an email from you guys from USA last year stating that I can actually use inter-club teams and I can secondary players.
From within your club.
Yeah, correct. Within my club.
Yeah,
Not
well,
outside of the club, but
Why would
within
you
my
wanna do
club.
that if you got
well,
the-
we consider that club passing now
That's club
as far
passing.
as, yeah,
Right.
that's club
On
passing.
my rosters, it does say, right, but it does say secondary.
That's
Well-
bad news.
That might say secondary. We know it's club pass. You only got a club pass, and why make them secondary?
Well, that's the issue though. If, yeah,
Well, the
That's
only
not
issue that would come into that is if you
Yeah,
did more
that's a
than
waste of time.
3, which is our limit. We say you
Right.
can only,
Last year,
right.
right, but how do you
Point
guys,
is with FYSA, when you have 2 clubs that you can register with,
yeah,
do you
is
have
it
to
declared?
choose the primary and the secondary with FYSA? If not, we're out in the forest, man.
right,
Yeah, that's what we.
We might as well.
So unless it says on an FYSA roster
Right.
that
If
on
FYSA
the,
Yeah,
doesn't require it,
On the game card that you print out, it does say
Yeah.
there's a difference between secondary player or club pass player. It does
yes,
Yes.
coding is different.
it's
Correct.
why
different.
would they, that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, Kai. If they were in the same club, why wouldn't they just
you.
club pass?
but if you have this kid that primarily, I've lost track of the clubs here, but if you have a kid that's primarily through FYSA rostered in Sarasota and is primaried on that card there, then when you secondary him to North Fort Myers or the other way around, it would say secondary on there. If you had to designate it.
No, it won't. It won't say secondary because he's not
'Cause-
inter-club.
Correct. So
Not-
therefore, in my interpretations, FYSA doesn't make you declare right first
Correct.
and second in different leagues / different clubs.
So if that's the
Right.
case, if we identify, we call Rosemary and say, Rosemary, 2 teams, do you have to declare primary and secondary? And she said if they're in a club, if they're not in the same clubs, no.
Then there's no issue.
Secondary players is out the window.
Then it's
because
totally
we
out the
have
window.
Secondary, like Kai's saying, Kai, I do not understand if that club has 4 players who are part of their club and they have them secondary players, why they didn't club pass? They had no club pass players. Why didn't they just club pass 3 kids over?
They removed them. Well, they removed them from the game card, and they didn't show up. Those players.
I know it. Isn't that odd, though? I mean, you see what I'm saying? If this is true, if what we're hearing right now is in fact a fact, why? I mean, someone needs to tell Sarasota, hey, there's an easier way to do this.
How many players were on the roster?
No, they weren't over rostered. What were they? They had 12 or 13. They didn't have 15 players or whatever it was.
It was an under 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we said, I think we've answered a lot of questions, and we don't have any formal protest on the floor anyway, so we don't really need to worry. But for future, I think and if it does come up, I'm sorry, you were breaking up. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Are we done with this then?
Well, as far as there's no formal protest, so there's no decision to be made. As far as it being done, it's only done if they bring up a protest, then we will revisit this conversation and see. But I don't personally see, unless there's something that's not come up tonight.
This was a call and a series of allegations that we checked in and said, no, I don't think it.
Well, as of this, under our investigation of what we are aware of here, it doesn't seem like a rule was broken.
That's all. I mean,
and if Doolittle is not on your roster, get him off of there because.
But get him off now, so we don't. Yeah, so we don't have to.
He's on there right now, Steve.
If he's not,
he's not.
We don't see him. That's a got soccer.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, I can pull it up on my side, and I don't say you don't see it. When I register my own name as the registrar, I don't see Doolittle. He's not there.
That's
that's definitely another God soccer issue. If you're seeing it, Greg, and they're not.
Yep.
Because I received him and I archived him.
Okay, well then you know what
That's
you need
the
to call.
You have to delete him. You can't archive him.
You can't archive him. You kind of have to delete him. But go ahead.
Delete him.
I would investigate that and just say again if that was just a clerical. It just needs to be. Yeah.
What it is.
But he hasn't been playing anyway, so just get him in.
With their program that they're trying to do way more than they are doing. I mean, I appreciate everything that you guys brought to the table.
Well, thank you very much. We really are trying to help everybody as we can, But these things are questions that needed to be answered, because this thing is we got to get a handle on this, And you're the processors.
Yeah,
you're the only guys that could even get us into the mystery. We've almost solved it.
Yeah.
Let me take a quick peek here.
So this is basically a God Soccer FYSA question. This primary, secondary thing's got to be answered to our satisfaction. Otherwise, we got to get this stuff off to stop even looking at it.
Right. Okay. All right. I think at this point that. Yeah.
I don't know why they still show up places.
Well, let me take a quick peek here. Hold on a second.
Hey, did you hit refresh? That always seems to be a problem.
No, I went in straight away. Hold on. Okay.
Any other?
There's Jordan Doolittle right there, folks. And I just went in.
No, but they're not showing.
I'm just telling you, I went in there fresh.
It's right.
It's still highlighted in blue. If
What's
you
that?
go under us, code to go under us so you can see what I look
Okay.
at. I'm the vice president. Do you want to see what I look at?
Well, you're
want
telling
me
me James Bowen is deleted as well?
Really? Yes. Yeah. Delete. Yes.
Okay, what you need,
Update.
okay, so then what you need to do then is delete them. Do not archive them.
Well,
Okay.
Get them out of there.
That's
Yeah,
not
then
what
they-
FYI to do, though.
That, they told you to do what?
Archive them.
Who told you that? Rosemary?
Rosemary told me that you were supposed to merge or delete.
well,
Well,
we're not going to worry about.
I'm just curious. Who told you from FYSA? Was it Rosemary that told you that?
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Update.
I'll call her tomorrow and I'll ask her that if she told you that.
See, this
Yeah.
is not the same
Well,
roster.
doesn't
that you
it?
go to
Greg,
the
listen, if
other-
Rosemary does or doesn't admit to, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna start
I'm
chasing.
not worried about that. I just,
Rosemary thinks so.
By the way.
What we gotta
I
do
want-
though, the thing to ask Rosemary, Greg, is if you're registered with two different teams in FYSA, do you need to make a primary and secondary choice at the time that you register him again, for the second?
Okay. What
Yeah,
you're looking at right, but I try to follow the FYSA rules. I try
Yeah,
to
that's
tell
all right.
you.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Where did
Okay.
Jordan end up if he's not playing with you? Is he over Sarasota? Is that where?
He's Sarasota.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
He is. Yeah.
yeah, I would just, if he's not playing with you anymore, then there's no reason to just drop him anyway, and we should be all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he never played.
Okay. All right. Is there any other issues on the executive table? Because I've lost track.
well, we'll talk about this week, Greg. I mean, in other words,
All right.
that primary, secondary thing is something that we just gotta.
You've got about 8 games. You got 8 games here that need to be adjudicated.
Okay. Well, let's adjudicate them.
5153 noisemaker rule. FC Tampa U13 boys against West Florida Flames. There was nothing noted on the report.
I don't see it.
I don't have it up. There was nothing on the.
I don't see it on the agenda.
No, that's the double secret probation agenda. We didn't merge Sherry's agenda and mine. We had 2 agendas.
Well, my agenda I did it, Mary.
Okay, so you got it on there.
Pulled up the old one.
All right.
All right.
So there was nothing on the game report.
Nothing on the game report. Nothing.
Yeah. But can I tell you about this one because I got the phone call?
Yeah.
Please.
Wednesday night, I got a phone call from the opposing team that the other team had noisemakers. And she was told initially by Augie that they were allowed to have that type of noisemaker. So then when we looked in the rules, we realized that it doesn't really state what they're allowed to have or not have. Meanwhile, I spoke to Augie and I told him, look, whether they're allowed to or they're not, it's upsetting the other team. Is it really that important that that gentleman uses that noisemaker, or can you talk to him and ask him to not use it until we get a clarification?
I got an email. I think that's what Augie, I had no idea why I got the email. Augie said I told him not to bring it anymore. So I don't even know what it's about.
So, but then the further point, and the other team was appreciative, Augie was cooperative, so we got through it.
Perfect.
But the point was that it's not in the rules, and should we put something out there to clarify?
No, I mean, I don't know.
Well, again, that has to be something that we revisit for, updating rules later on.
We could be a couple days trying to figure out exactly what noisemakers. I think the referee, if Merritt were here, he'd say, if the center ref finds it's a problem,
then it would be up to the center referee to ask
and
them.
the center says, I don't want to hear that anymore because it's an air horn or something like that.
Yeah, it would be like a yellow card infraction on the coach.
We'd be better off than trying to, tell them.
Get in the middle of it. Okay, well, that's what
Yeah.
happened. It was a little more hostile than that initially, but yeah, the lady that called me was sitting in her car blowing her horn because she said that if he was allowed to do that, she was allowed to do that.
Yes.
But I
Oh
talked
my
to her.
God.
Yeah, I just said, look, let's be adults here and let everybody cooperate, and that's what happened.
So we're going to send the squad out there and.
Now we got the air horn squad.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was all that was about. But I did tell the lady that complained that we would discuss it at the meeting. So
We did, and Augie apparently has gone to them. He claims it's a bike thing.
bike horn, yeah,
I
bike
don't
horn or something.
know.
All right.
The center says
What
something.
age group was this?
That's it. You know, that's all.
What
Please.
age group was this?
U13 boys.
U13 boys?
Yeah.
If I see Augie, I'll tell him to, please, just don't do that.
Yeah.
And
just
he
stop.
was very, as soon as I spoke with him, he was very cooperative.
Augie's
Okay.
a long-time referee, so he really.
He wasn't argumentative or anything at that point. So
No,
Okay.
he's normally a very, he's a ref, he's a referee usually.
Leave the marching band at home.
All right, next.
Next one, 1568. U19 Rangers versus Dynamo. Melee in the stands after the game.
Wait, what in the game? Wait, what?
Mike, I'm recusing myself from this one.
Yeah, Mike's got to do the same. Here's the deal, Steve. The game was rough, I guess.
Yeah.
There was some abusive language back and forth. And
Okay.
the game ended. There was taunts back and forth between parents and players. Next thing you know, parents are duking it out.
Parents are duking it out. Okay.
Not all of them. Apparently, one guy threw a punch and broke his hand.
Oh my God. Was the police called?
Yes, and a report was made to the police department.
Okay, so it's a police report then. I don't.
Did we get it?
I don't know. I don't know if that's under our jurisdiction at this point. Is it?
No, I mean, if we want to, you could probably get the police report though. I wouldn't bother me myself.
But what can we do about it? Is what I'm saying.
I would
what
tell
can
both
we do
clubs
about
that if we're going to follow them, and if we start to see any more of this nonsense,
it? Right.
not-
Other than a warning or a right. Other than a warning or a stern.
A
no
stern,
one encourages that behavior.
stern warning.
Okay. So we'll send the club to make sure that the coaches relay to these parents that if this continues, this could
Especially with
this
these
could
teams.
avoid us allowing these
Yeah, if we
teams.
see any more from these teams, we're going to assume that 2 games, 1 game, oh, maybe, but 2 games, no.
Well, basically, the bottom line is we won't allow these teams to be registering in our league anymore if this is the way their parents are going to behave.
Correct.
And then it eventually could then roll out to the club. So therefore, the club is held responsible for this type of behavior from their parents.
Yep.
And if they do not get a handle on it, then sanctions towards the club could be towards the team / club could be handed down based
Jerry,
on
can
that.
you draft that since you're the only one that's not involved in the one of the teams?
Yeah. Because that's absolutely
I think
ludicrous.
that's terrific. I think that's fair.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
So
I will write something up.
All right.
okay.
Next
All right.
one.
Sounds good.
Next one, game 2223.
Okay.
I couldn't find a report nowhere. It was-
Yeah, there isn't. It was a forfeit, but apparently what happened is the 2 teams, the first team showed up
Oh,
and-
right.
and the other team did not show up. And of course, the first guy, I think it was Manatee, if I remember correctly, was very upset that the guy didn't even have the courtesy to call him forfeit, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we got an apology letter from the opposing team that it was a total clerical mistake. He did not have the game on his calendar. He was very apologetic.
Okay.
But the issue is, do we fine them $350?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes.
Yes.
It's West Pasco didn't show for the game against Winter Haven.
Then yes.
U11 girls.
Yes. They have to be fined. I'm sorry. That it's West Pasco that didn't show up or the other team.
No, I don't think those are the 2
Steve just realized, wait a minute.
Yeah.
No, is it? No, I'm serious. Is it West Pasco that didn't show up?
U11 girls, West Pasco.
Well, find them.
Hey, Sherry, the reason they couldn't find it is because there's 2 game numbers with the same game.
What?
2223, you can't find, but if you look at 2823, it has that, what you just stated.
All right, so is this an error on our part?
I don't think those are the two teams, though. This is North Lakeland. The guy that didn't show up was North Lakeland, and the guy that complained was Manatee.
Okay, well, we have another one then the same way. 2823 is the same thing.
Okay, but
West Pasco didn't show. It's
Let's go with this one. We're going to find.
let's deal with this one.
right.
Okay.
Unless we find out, can we find out if there's, is there any possibility?
Is there any possibility that this was our mistake?
No.
Okay.
No, the guy admitted it.
Okay, fine.
Okay, well then, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would assume
he
we.
said it was his error, and he was very, no deliberate act. Unfortunately, I failed to transfer the details of the match to my app on my phone. Blah blah blah.
It'll help him. The fine will help clarify and get him more.
This is the only thing he said is I requested any fines USA levies be against me and not that of our club.
Okay, then that's
The
fine.
club can collect it from him.
Then tell him to pay the club.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay. Tell him to pay the club. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna.
We don't find people individually.
Yeah,
We find clubs. Yeah.
I know. Okay. What's the next number?
Okay.
2823.
That's the next number? Okay.
That's the next one. U11 girls.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, is it the same circumstances?
This I've got where West Pasco didn't show. Winter Haven called Friday and said they wouldn't. All it says is Winter Haven called and said they wouldn't make the game. That doesn't make any sense. Here, let me.
So it's not West Pasco not showing, but it's Winter
West
Haven.
Pasco and Winter Haven. Let me pull it up.
Yeah. Let me see if I can.
Let me pull it up here.
Is there a chat in there somewhere?
The visiting team never showed, which is West Pasco. They called the Winter Haven coach on Friday night and said they would not be able to make the game on Friday night for a Saturday game.
Okay. But it's still a fine because they were within the window.
Right.
Or with,
It should be 250, but I think the issue they never told us, but that happens.
All right, so the first one's 350, this one's 250?
Yep.
yeah, that's fine.
Next.
2672.
Okay.
Give me a second here. I gotta find my notes.
Yeah, let me see what I got here. We got it.
Oh, same thing. It's on the same email. This one, the complaint was the field is incorrectly lined. The center circle was 10 yards in size. The penalty area was 16 yards deep. There was no build-out line and anthills all over the field. This was from the referee. So do we want to do anything about that?
We need to inform the club that this needs to be fixed.
Yeah, well,
Who's the club? Don't tell me West Pasco.
Winter Haven.
About West Pasco?
Well, we got a guy. Let's send that to Alan and say, can you help us out here?
Okay, got it.
How's that sound? Because he's there and he's a good guy, and we know the president. He's a good and not bad people. So let's see what the story really was.
Yeah, if it's not fixed, then again, the club will be fined in some way, but we'll give them the opportunity to fix it first.
What age group?
U10 girls.
Well, it has to be U10 because it's a build-out line.
Yeah. So you know what's odd about that is that's not that's a club ref doing that, right?
Yeah, it sounds like
That's their own ref. Correct? That's not what all refs.
doesn't mean it's okay.
No, it doesn't mean it's. I agree with you, Steve. It doesn't mean change it at all.
I looked at our field at West Pasco, and I know we play mostly CDL, but I mean we're wrong.
Yeah, go to Palm Harbor. It's even worse.
We're wrong. I told everybody in the damn league, don't use a blue dotted line, right? Because they said don't make it dotted, and we use the blue dotted line.
Hey, Steve, where do you go to Palm Harbor?
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's a yard outside the box.
Oh my gosh.
I swear to God, I was there Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Game 6199. I don't see anything in the report, Sherry.
This is the one. Okay, let me read it. I'm sorry. And our coach printed the game.
Winter Haven and North Lakeland.
This is the one that I think you looked into this one. The score was a tie. That only 6 players showed on their roster. Do you
Okay.
remember? Here, let me forward this to you, Greg. This might ring a bell if I send it to you real quick. I'm going to send it to USA Game Report.
I remember seeing something like that.
Yeah, and I think you did something with it. Wait a minute, let's see. Can a game card, this is the first question, can a game card report that we print out of Got Soccer only have 6 players listed on it, but play 12 in the game?
No.
What is the minimum? 6? The minimum for 12?
This is 13 and under.
Oh, no. 6
No,
is
because it's 7. Isn't it
Right.
minimum 7?
Then she sent a picture of the game card. There's only 6 players. Our team showed all 17 plus 1 club pass. When the teams were checking in, our coach asked how could they have 12 players on the bench and only 6 players listed on the game card report.
Who
Our
was that?
coach also wanted to check the age and birth date of 2 players who were heads and tails bigger than all other players. The coach said they were their size and just wanted to make sure they were eligible. The referee didn't acknowledge the request, and I don't know if they even have to. Some kids just look a lot older than they are. I do believe the team did have player passes for all the players that were with the team. Are player passes enough to play, or do they all have to be listed on the game card? The
It's
home
supposed to be.
the home team didn't even have a game report card. Game report. The ref took the one our coaches brought with them.
Game reports, it's sketchy, but game card, if they're not on the game card, they don't play.
That's what it's supposed to be.
That's what it states.
So then I guess that's the question is, so then she finally, Greg, asked her what was the score, player eligibility. The referee will allow participation of only those players whose names appear in the Got Soccer game card. So then she responded, war was a tie. And the referee followed a part of the player eligibility criteria then with having the player passes, but the names were not on the game card. The coach sent me the game report. There isn't anything notated on it about the player situation. I don't know if they filled out a supplemental, but then we don't think they did because we don't have anything.
Yeah, but
So the question is that game valid? Because the game card was wrong. I think that's the question.
I think the
yeah,
game.
but doesn't the ref have to note that? I mean, I can't say your game card is incorrect, can I? Doesn't the ref have to? Isn't it the ref has to say the game card's not right?
The game should have never been played.
Well, how do we even know what the game card said? I mean, the ref is the only one that saw the game card. Am I correct?
Well, we have a picture of it.
Oh, but still, that doesn't mean anything, right? Well, that doesn't mean
Well,
that was.
if you pull it up now, what does it look like?
Yeah, it still doesn't matter.
Well, that's true.
What's online? The referee goes to the match. He sees 6 players on a game card. That's the end of it.
That game should have never even been played.
Correct. Unless they want a ref walks off and said, if you want a scrimmage, that's fine.
Right.
But the game is a forfeit.
Right. But
Now,
if we can't prove that based on what
if there's no game card, if it said nothing in the game card, then
is the game card have a picture? The picture of the game card, is it dated?
Not the game card. The game report says nothing about it and just reports the game out.
But do we have a picture of the game card?
Yes, we have a picture.
And is it dated?
My problem is I can't see it.
But Steve, it doesn't matter. You don't know that that's the game card that the referee saw. Did the referee report that? Did the referee put that game card in?
No, well, no, he
Okay,
did
then
not.
we need to be the game card the referee reported. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna tell you what the date is. I think I can make it bigger here. Give me 1 second. The date that this was printed is 10/16, and the date of the game.
What club is it?
10/15.
What club is that?
Oh, well, okay. Wait. So this was printed after the game?
After the game.
Then it's invalid. Because you can change the game card at any point, at any time. They could have changed it that night.
Oh, the visiting team can't change the home team side. Then
What
we,
I'm saying is the game card, the roster could have been changed the night of the game. So we need to have the game card from the referee.
Referee is our guy there. He had to stop this beforehand.
Yeah, we need to have the referee's game card.
We can only assume that everybody was eligible and he saw what he wanted to say, whatever it was. Right?
Oh, and you know what? This is the team that's playing in both seasons,
That's what I'm saying. So they could have very well dropped all their players that afternoon.
junior and senior, because this
Then
is
that's what they did. They dropped all their players that afternoon to put them back on the other roster.
Yeah, it's funny the ref didn't note anything, huh?
So because there probably wasn't an issue on the original game card, probably was listed.
Like those guys made a good point about the Charlotte team. They were told specifically to, if there's a problem, we report it to the ref before the match and say it's going to be played in a protest because we don't think. Now this is the same thing. They needed to go to the ref with this and say, ref, we shouldn't be playing this game. It's a forfeit. And if you play it, it's under protest, and I want that noted on the game.
The only way we can prove anything is to get a copy of the game card that the referee turned into us or used.
right.
That's the only way. Without that, there is no issue.
Right.
Okay, so just
Don't we have a game card for this?
I don't.
Oh. Can we get what would
So if you could ask the referee, that would be helpful. If you could say,
Michael.
do you have a copy of the game card, and was all these players on the game card that he
Well,
used?
more to the point, why did you allow the match if you saw the game
Well,
card?
that's what I'm saying, right? So obviously the game card probably did have those kids on it. And then that afternoon after the game, they probably dropped all the players off to put them back on the senior team.
Well, the referee saw player passes and figured the hell with the game card.
Well, but then that's then that's not appropriate. Then that's a problem with the referee that we need to address.
And it does sound like, because I mean, the lady is saying when the teams were checking in, the coach asked how could they only have 6 players on the game card. So he did question it.
Who did he ask?
The referee, I guess.
And the referee's answer was?
Right.
The referee didn't acknowledge the request.
Okay. We'll just ask the referee what the hell's going on right now.
Right.
Well, first, yeah, we need more information.
Either
from
the ref's
referee.
an idiot for letting the game go on like that, or there's more to it.
Yeah. So let's table this and for further information from the referee.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Next game. 1433.
Yeah.
Charlotte Premier Braden Rivers, 16 boys.
Okay, so this is the same lady that complained about the last issue that we just spent all that time on.
Okay, so table it for more information on the referee. Let's go.
Well, this one here, they're saying that the player didn't serve his red card.
No. Well, this is the one where they're saying that there was 2. Okay, let me just read it. The yellow and red cards are recorded in the misconduct section under the game report. But as I mentioned in the email, there were 2 number 11 players on the field.
All right.
Oh boy.
And one got slapped a piece of duct tape on his back to make number 111 and pushed back onto the field, literally. My concern is that since there's no way to record number 111 as being a player receiving the yellow card, it is recorded as number 11 and shows the 2 yellow cards under the game report. And thus that player, as I mentioned, should have also been removed from the game as after the second yellow card was awarded. But another concern is that the second number 11 doesn't even play for them. And so who's the real number 11? It was a big joke, to say the least, and something I feel that USA needs to look into. If teams cannot take this league play in a constructive and mature manner, then maybe those clubs need not be participating in this league play.
Did they file a protest?
No, it's the same lady that complained about the other one. She has
Okay, well, we definitely. I think that's another rule. I mean, I can't say I haven't done it as a coach that I slapped duct tape on a player, but the duct tape on the player has to go prior to the game, not during the game.
Yeah, the referee's got to control that, Steve.
So if there is right. So again, there's not really anything. not anything we can do, but
Opinion
maybe
after the game.
that player should have not have been on the field. He was playing with it, or he checked in as 111.
Do we have a game card for this one?
Duct tape during the game.
It was during the game, so therefore they both checked in as 11.
Well, that's our allegation.
I don't know. I guess so.
Well, that's important, because if they both checked in as an 11, then that's the referee's fault. Then one of those players should not have been able to play.
Right.
But the referee will have to tell us that, not her.
Correct. So
there's nothing on the referee's report that states any impropriety with the numbers, although the referee did note that the Charlotte Premier challenged Braden River, stating that Ignacio Battaglia did not serve his red card before playing this game.
Is he number 11 or 111?
Not having the game card, I wouldn't know.
I mean, I can look it up if you want me to.
Well, is that true about the red card?
Probably not. I mean,
what is their basis of them known? Was his name crossed out? Is that what it was? So they assumed that he didn't serve the red card?
yeah, I don't know if we know that, but here, I can look him up real quick. But
Well, hey, Sharon, this was 13 boys, right?
16 boys.
16.
Oh, crap. 16 boys? Okay, hold on.
Hold on, I can look up. I think
I'm already in there. 16 boys, Braden River.
you're in the red card.
I'm just looking at the roster for his number.
Oh.
Braden River.
Well, he received a red card on the 17th of September, and he served it the following week.
Okay, so we're good.
Battaglia is number 3.
Okay, so not 11. Okay, so
11. Or
111.
Or 111.
He served the only red card we know anything about.
Okay, so he did serve it. If you can come up with that proof, then he served it.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So, going back to the number thing, again, I think we need as a league to, put something in there that states, that, again, it's a referee thing. That player should not have ever even been on the field.
Yeah, but I mean, our
one
refs,
of those players.
Theoretically, Steve, our refs, I mean, if they don't know that by now,
Oh gosh, yeah. And I could understand in a U10 game or a, 12, but a 16.
The ref was the second time he's won a man, but I mean, come on.
Well, then
he's checking him in. Either he didn't check him in or whatever, but that's not.
Well, then that person, we need to seriously think about whether they're going to be reffing these level games.
Right.
So we need to get that note out to the assignment.
We have no idea if that's true or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. Well, then we need to, make sure it is, noted on game reports, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm just reading a previous email that she sent before that email, and it basically says the same thing, except that there were 2 players on the game card for Braden River's roster that were not assigned jersey numbers.
Right.
During the first half, it was realized they had 2 players on the field wearing number 11 and 2 wearing number 17. That's the only other thing she had to say.
In theory, that game should have been a forfeit for that other team, or those players should not have been, one of those 2 numbers should not have been allowed to play. It's unfortunate we can't prove that, but,
Or it may not be true.
Or it may not be true. Well, that's what I'm saying. We can't prove it.
Same lady complaining again, so that's kind
Well,
of.
if the fact of it is, though, either the referee catches that, and you'd have to go right at the game and say, I'm protesting a game because you got 2 numbers here, ref. Someone's got to stop it. And
Right.
It should have been, even if it was in the first 2 minutes of the game when you realize there's 2 11s out there or 2 16s or whatever it is.
It's not reasonable to think that a center. Greg, could we ever talk to the center and say, did you notice that there were a bunch of the same numbers on the field? Say, I don't remember 10 games ago.
Yeah, but I'd like to know, it should be noted that this center referee
But I'll tell you, Steve, the last 5 times we've gotten some wacky stuff. We checked with the referee, and the referee said, that's none of that's true. And
Well, of course they're going to say no.
I've been doing that. I've been doing games for 12 years. You look at it and say, well, you don't see any other problems with this, like this center. Have we had other problems with him? Have we had, is he just not good at his job? Have we seen other reports? If you're seeing no reports, no indication that the center is that bad. Now, he could have been that bad that day, but
I think at least this email should be forwarded to the assigners, and at least it should be noted, just kept on file in case.
Ask the assigner, is this? I mean, can we recheck this guy and see if everything's all right? But
is there? Yeah, I mean, at least just to do
we don't even know
investigation.
this is an allegation that someone's making that the referee is not holding. The referee is not reporting.
Right.
He's our eyes and ears there.
Yeah.
Not the team manager from the opposite.
No, but if there has been other complaints about the same referee,
absolutely.
Then we can. So all I'm saying is just keep it noted for future.
I think we should. Yeah, I don't know if we note that, but I mean that's the point. Or get to the assigner and say, hey, we just had a.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think this lady really is even protesting a game result. I think she's just basically stating
Yeah, but that's a really horrible error for a center. If in fact that's happening, then we should keep.
Very horrible error. Yeah.
All right.
But
last one.
Yeah.
Last
Okay.
one.
The last one, guess what? It's the same lady making this complaint. But
What
it's
complaint has she got?
She only gets 2. Let's move
right.
So this is West Pasco not showing up again.
on.
I'm just pulling your leg, Steve.
Damn you! I only have 2 teams, and
No, this is Charlotte County versus Lee County Strikers, and
Same team.
same. Well, the same one of the
boys.
Charlotte Premier 16 boys, but another opponent they played against, Lee County. The Lee County called the night before the game and said that he mixed up his dates and they wouldn't be able to play on Saturday.
Okay.
They did not agree to like reschedule or anything, and so it was recorded as a forfeit.
Yes.
So I'm assuming we just fine Lee County. They never actually remember this one because he was texting me and all this stuff that he had tried to change it and that they never responded, Charlotte or whatever. But he never filed like a forfeit form or acknowledged that he was forfeiting it to us. So,
But he didn't show up.
But he didn't show up.
So therefore, it's an automatic forfeit.
Yeah, right. So I mean, I know we would if he told him the day before, then that's $250.
We appreciate the 24-hour notice so people don't drive out there, but it's still the $250.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it was Charlotte. They're not 2 hours away.
Correct. True.
Oh, they didn't go, did they? Lee County didn't show.
It says Lee County didn't show, so.
I think they
Charlotte
did
drive
show
down
up.
to Lee County?
No, it was a Charlotte home game.
I think they did because she said Lee County did not show up on Saturday for game time, and the referee proceeded with logging the game as a forfeit. We did have to pay the referee fees.
Then it's a $350 then.
$350.
Yeah.
It's $350.
Done.
Okay. Yeah, it's $350. Yeah.
$350? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because they have to pay the referees because they can't. The referees showed up. If they never notified you, Sherry, then the referees showed up. Then it's a $350.
Okay.
Yeah. If they had notified you and filed a forfeit report, then it would be a $250.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okie dokie, guys.
Oh wow, are we done?
Somebody make a motion.
I make a motion. I think I made all the initial motions.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody left. I'll second it.
I'm coming over for coffee, Paul.
Huh?
I'm coming over for coffee.
Ooh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, folks.
Good
All
night.
right. Till next month. All
Hey,
right.
that's a reminder. Listen, look for the emails because normally December is we hang it up for December. So we'll decide the next week whether we'll keep that tradition alive.
I vote for that tradition.
I'll vote for that.
I make a motion.
All right. Well,
I'll second.
won't. So let's just call it right now and no.
Yeah, let's just call right now unless there's any
No
emergency
December
issues.
meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless there's any
Brian,
emergency
you wanna-
issues, yeah. Yeah.
I
You said-
don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to keep this going either, believe me. But there's a big chat message from Englewood. I don't know if, I'll tell you what, I'll just copy and paste it and send it to you, Paul.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I mean, those people want to know. I mean, it's not a legal thing. They got to confuse whatever they're doing down there. There's an issue, and it may not be a problem, or may not be anything wrong with it, but it certainly is unconventional the way those numbers popped up. The two kids we still don't know, but no one's protested it, so that's the end of that.
Yeah, there's no.
But it did point out, I'll tell you, a real hole in the system and a real something we need to address and get it over with and say, hey, forget the secondary rule because we don't know what is secondary or primary.
Yeah, I think this is made us revisit how we look at this.
When we got this information, Greg got in there originally because he didn't go down and check 14s. He checked everything bigger. We couldn't find the kids at all. 4 kids can't find them.
Right.
Well,
Well,
two, yeah, the two
those
are legit, but
well, they used old numbers. So, I mean, look, it's something there is discombobulated when you got archived numbers on game reports, but they were on the roster. So I don't know why if you're on a roster, why did they bother?
well, I just trying to figure out why they didn't do what they were asked to do in September.
Well, but you know, Greg, let me tell you something. Dealing with FYSA, I'm not 100%. They are wackos. I mean,
Yeah, they could have told you one thing and they told them something else.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows what they
in
told?
writing. She'll put it in writing.
Yeah, but I mean, it still doesn't mean.
I understand.
I wouldn't believe anything they told me at FYSA.
Okay.
The fact is that that club had weird. I mean, those numbers didn't make any sense. They didn't archive those guys. That didn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense to me. Why didn't you just put the number? Why have them as, you know? Oh, okay.
Well,
they're all right. They're rostered, so that's good.
yeah. Well, the thing that sounds really strange to me is that they went 0-4 their first couple games, and then all of a sudden, when all these players came on board, they went 6-0.
That's correct. Well, because the players are probably good. Right.
I'm just saying that's.
No, but that's.
No, we still need to look into it. It still needs to be. We still need to
Greg,
shore it up.
they lost 4 matches because if you look at their record, they've 6-1.
No, they're 6-4.
Oh, are they? I saw 6.
Yeah, they're 6-4. They went 4-0, then 6-0, or
So
0-4.
they're not close to the top of the table.
Yeah, they're in second. No, they're in second place, second or third.
Yeah.
And now they know someone's looking at the roster, so it's not so easy to do anything.
Yeah, well, you got Husky doing the same thing. Everybody's going to be doing this stuff.
Yeah,
No,
but
we need to.
unless we get it cleaned up
clean
with
it up.
FYSA, though, we've got no basis to do anything, right?
Yeah, we have to clean it up.
This
We have to
primary,
revisit the
secondary